Oh, and I already said you can go live, whatever. I'm not looking
at
the chat.
We're live now. We are live now. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I figure, you know, we should just let everybody in on our pre-show banter, because that's where like all the good meat comes out. All of the good cooking happens. You know, what's funny is I know that you do you like do coffee and cooking as part of your shtick, you know, where you're delivering the message so people have something else to sort of like, you know, focus on when you're doing your videos, which I think is really great. I'm trying to do something like that with like with like my music, like all this shit in the back of me here. So I'm trying to work something out like that. But I
more like Seinfeld, where there's a bass riff after each one of your lines, or
well, you know, I will tell you. I'll tell you something that's really funny. Is I goofed. As people know, I play music, and I've been a sort of a semi-pro musician for really since I was about 19 or 20 years old. Didn't really take off for me until I was about 22, and that was just sort of you know, limited in scope. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
I just look at adjusting. See, this is what you get, everybody, when you see our pre-show banter.
Oh, there's my face. Anyways, yeah.
I see your. Yeah. So, anyways, so I goofed. I've been trying to. Whenever I do like outside projects, I try to keep my ROLLO TOMASSI persona, you know, as low key as possible, because I do it for, you know, I keep it a secret just to sort of not only just protect myself, but also to protect the people that like I would be, you know, associated with, because I don't know that they don't want to be associated with me, because I've always been really careful about that. Now that I put my face out, I've been out for like 2 years now, and
have you gotten street recognized yet, or?
No, I have not been street recognized, although I am like, you know, it's funny. Maybe you notice this, maybe you don't, but like when I go to the gym, or if I go to a new gym, I'm always like, when people like look at me for a beat longer than I think they should, I'm like, oh shit, do they know who I am? do they know who? Yeah, have they seen the show? I should be so fortunate, right? I mean, we're at what, about 33,000, 34,000 subs.
You're bigger than that. It's just because of the
yeah, I know. It's putting a face with it is interesting. So yeah, I goofed. I've been working on logos and stuff for the band I'm with right now, and they didn't know who I was, and I was trying to keep it low key. I figured, you know, if things work out, then I'll let them know. You know, I want them to respect me as a musician before they say, oh, you have 3 best-selling books and everything else.
By the way, I'm the Godfather, just so you know.
yeah, just so you know, I've got 55,000 followers on Twitter, and you know, yeah, exactly. But I accidentally sent our drummer an email on my ROLLO TOMASSI account, and it has all of my contact lists on there. And they're like, "Who the fuck?" You know. So I go into rehearsal yesterday, and they're like, "Hey, Rollo, how's it going?" I'm like, "Did I?" You know, I'm trying to think if I actually told them or not, but yeah. So now the jig is up. I guess they're totally cool with it. They're totally fine. But it's interesting to have to be concerned with like a secret identity. I guess at some point I probably won't have to worry about it anymore. But you know, fame is still a little bit of fame. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's standard. Well, think about it this way: how many people know who? Terry Boella? Nobody knows who that is, but everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is. I always joke around that's because the 80s kids were raised on wrestling. So why wouldn't you take a stage name?
Alec here, thanks for the $5. Alec, I'm gonna hopefully Sam's in the chat right now. I will, if it's not on topic today, I will answer. We'll get to your questions at the end of the show, but this is pretty good. What would you say to a behavioral psychologist who recommends men settle down as soon as possible so they form good habits and aren't tempted to scratch the itch?
How do you know that is my question?
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, I would question question the integrity of that particular behavioral psychologist, because behavioral psychology is not about here's what you should do with your life. It is about analyzing behavior and modeling desired behavior and extinguishing, I guess, undesired behavior. So anyone who's telling you those kinds of things is not a behavioral psychologist. They are a cognitive therapist. They are probably a cognitive humanist therapist. So that's not a behavioral psychologist right there, first and foremost. Behavioral psych is nuts and bolts psychology. And I can train my dogs with behavioral psychology. That's how nuts and bolts it is. So
better man than me. My guys still can't fetch.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, that's where it comes from. I mean, it's behavioral psychology is just, I mean, at its most fundamental, it is just operative conditioning, and then understanding that behavior is the only way of determining motivation or intent or anything, and just sort of putting two and two together. But again, even behaviorism is not without its flaws. Mm-hmm. So today's topic is an interesting article. Article or brochure. I'm not really sure what to call it. I think I sent this to you last night and then asked you to come on today. I really want to talk about the Griffith University's sort of Relationship Manifesto that has surfaced. I'm going to go dig up that tweet really quickly and then show you guys.
Which, by the way, they're one of the top 100 universities in Australia. So very prestigious.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
I found it fascinating.
Anybody's hot takes, nothing from Steph Molyneux or whoever. I actually went to their website and looked at people who got with it and LinkedIn. So that's my only research into it so far.
Where is that? There it is. Bettina. That's another thing is I keep seeing here. Here's the original tweet. This is Bettina Arndt. I don't know who she is or what she's about. Apparently she is. I think this Bettina Arndt is sort of a proxy account for a MGTOW or something like that. Although I could be wrong, since now I've been made aware that there are, heresy of heresies. There are female MGTOWs or females who would like to get in on the MGTOW grift. Imagine that. What was I just saying before? MGTOW is becoming this brand that people want to be a part of. So, MRAs aren't going anywhere. Oh, it looks like it was anyway. So I'm just going to read this real quick. She says, young women at Griffith University are being taught to be uncaring, demanding bitches. Take a look at this list of women's dating rights on the uni's digital dating site. It's all about me, my wants, my needs. A great ad for MGTOW. This does not sound like does this sound to you like a woman wrote this? This does not
sound like a woman or somebody who would write this.
Yeah, exactly. So I was looking at okay, this person has 15,000 followers, so not too
but they gave me that many, so whatever. They'll give it to anyone.
Well, and then I guess she preferred pronouns she is part of the Men Too grift, I guess is what it is. She's following 47 accounts and she's got 15,000 followers. This to me looks like a proxy account. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I will say that I have noticed in the last forgive me if I'm over modulating. I think I cranked the gain up a little too much.
Oh, your modulating is perfect.
Am I good? Okay. So I'm noticing, and by the way, I'm going to go on Susan Vanker's podcast tomorrow. It is not a live stream. It is just an audio podcast. Once it is up and available for listening, it will probably be on iTunes. I'll let everybody know where they can go pick it up. I'm not against talking to women who would like to think that they are in the know or in the red pill or whatever else. I would very much like to talk to, Suzanne Vanker. I think we probably agree on about 85 some odd % of what we talk about. Or like Candace Owens. I would love to go on Candace Owens' show and sort of straighten her out about.
There you go.
straighten her out about authority versus responsibility. That, you know, she's a and I don't know how she got involved with them, but she's a part of Prager University's video series now. And I don't know, do people make a lot of money off of that? I mean, is that something?
I imagine it's decent money,
Mm-hmm.
because there's got to be some kind of donor in the back end for PragerU, some kind of super ultra conservative think tank that's doing donations. I guarantee that. But I wonder too. So a little off topic, but kind of on topic. You talking to Candace Owens would be hilarious, because I get the impression like, who's that goofy, your facts don't matter goofball? He's always on TV. The conservative one. The little 5'4" dude who always talks to everybody. And
Tucker Carlson? No.
The guy with the yarmulke.
Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. I remember. I put him and Candace Owens in the same camp. Very good and articulate when they're fighting 18-year-old college freshmen. But you put them in front of somebody who knows what they're doing, and they kind of crumble. So I would actually look forward to that, just to watch somebody flounder when they don't have to stick to the standard scripts. And
it's not like I want to go on there and like beat her up or anything. It's just like, I think I would probably... First of all,
I like watching sacred cows getting taken down. That's me.
I don't think I would ever get on that show for the same reason I doubt I will ever get on Joe Rogan, because I would ask questions that I think are personally too, I don't know, too sensitive, I guess, for them. But like, I think I would talk to like Candace Owens, or if I talk to any of the guys like on Prager University, I think I would probably run them up the flagpole with respect to, you know, how tradcons are essentially feminists themselves. It's just their, you know, it's the Norman Rockwell version of feminism. And, you know, pointing out
that's taken off. I love that.
Yeah, pointing out their Achilles heels might be something that I don't think that they'd really take too kindly to. So I don't know. We'll see. I think like when people say, are you ever going to go on Joe Rogan? And I'm like, well, I would love to.
It's not up to you.
It's not up to me. And I would love to do it. By the way, I've got the Hotep Nation. Thanks, Brian, for all this good stuff. But like when Hotep Jesus went on, he dropped my name on there, and I know Rogan knows who I am. I'm just wondering if maybe I'm just a little bit too much for Joe, because I think the moment I said something about like single mothers and guys marrying single mothers are essentially signing up for their own cuckoldry, I think that's he would think I was like an MRA, and I already know that he has sort of a misconception of what MRA is versus red pill versus whatever else.
Everybody does though. But he had Gavin McInnes on, he had Milo Yiannopoulos, he had Sargon of Akkad. Like, I'm sure he can handle the worst of Rollo Tomassi, because these guys are just ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know where Sam is today. I don't know if he's in or not. With Sam in? Let me go look real quick here.
All right. Well, here, while you're looking, something I noticed about this little pamphlet here.
Yeah. Let's get back to that part.
I don't think that person actually read this thing, because I read it, and you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of what was that ad they had a long ago, like teach men not to rape? Do you remember those posters and the big hullabaloo? Yes. This is just more of that. Because you look at like what you have the right to, it's like you have the right not to be assaulted, and all this nobody would argue with any of these things. Except for some of it's kind of naggy, like ask my partner when I want more affection. That's just kind of like, dude, get out of here. I got shit to do. And then the responsibilities is kind of like the same thing. It's standard chick boilerplate stuff, but it has that undercurrent of every man is a potential rapist. And if you just talk to them with respect and tell them what you want, they'll listen. The problem is that's not the audience going to be listening to this. The soy boy type who really wants to get a girlfriend finally is going to look at this. He's going to follow it to a T. And these girls are going to end up sleeping with the guy who does all this stuff that they're saying you don't have to put up with. So it's this weird, I almost think it's like a fitness test, checking to see what guys can look at this and ignore it.
Yeah. Well, here's why I thought this was a big deal. And if you go and you look at whatever her name, Bettina Arnold, whatever her name is, if you look at I don't know if I put the actual link in there. Let me go grab it real quick. If you look at the conversation that went on after that, it had 265 retweets, 983 likes. And I don't know what the rest of this was. Yeah. Anyways,
Redditor and me too. Upvotes and people upvote things. All that tells me that idiots love it.
There's a lot, and there's quite a few comments on this too. I was looking for the comment content here, but that's okay. Yeah. So let's see here. Okay. So if you look at the comments on this, it's pretty much standard fare. You're going to get the feminist women who are going to look at this list of like rights to, this is like a Bill of Rights is what this is. Now, the first thing women said in their responses to this was, well, this is for men too. So let's read through these things and let's just see how and where these things go. Now, why is this a big deal? Why does Rollo care about any of this? Well, because there used to be a
because you guys want content, god damn it.
Well, yeah, you guys want content, but like back in 2013, 2014, there was an on-campus, I guess, set of rules for the UC California collegiate system, right? And it was yes means yes, and it used to be no means no, and it was all about consent. And I can remember a time when in the red pill community, guys were saying, well, Rollo, that's never gonna be widespread. And me and Dalrock actually were talking and said, watch and see how yes means yes gets out into the wild. It will get well beyond the university system. And what we see right now in our Me Too era, all of that began on college campuses. So the idea of no means no for consent. Now that wasn't enough. Now it has to be yes means yes. Well, it can only be yes means yes if a certain set of criteria apply, and yes means yes only ever really applies to men versus women giving the consent. So it's this lopsided
it's
power dynamic.
Policy.
Yeah. And then exactly what you were saying about that poster, the one about how there is like Johnny and Jane went on a date. Both of them got tipsy. They had sex and he didn't get consent. So now Johnny's a rapist. And the funny thing about that poster was, well, Janie had sex with Johnny too. She didn't get consent, but we don't look at rape from the perspective that that the woman didn't ask for consent, and therefore technically she's a statutory rapist. If we have a unilateral standard of justice, then Jane is just as much a rapist as Johnny was. But the poster says, guys, think about it. Don't do it. Make sure that she's straight. Make sure that you're straight, kind of thing. Because if not, then you're going to be the rapist by default. And all of that stuff started on a university campus, and it is now filtered its way into the mainstream here.
Yeah, the students graduate.
Yeah. Let me see what else I got here. What is this?
It's the neatest thing too about the policy side of this. If you notice, if you read through all this, it's very vague and wishy-washy, and I think that's by design for that exact same reason you were saying. Because if you're a girl and you don't like somebody and you want to like punish them, I guess for lack of a better word, the more vague and feel good these things are, the easier time you have it. So it's really just giving the ability for women to weaponize their sexuality.
Right. And that's really
the problem when you say you should make it clear and consistent. Like, yeah, but if you do that, then there's ground rules and everybody knows how to play. No. It's just like corporate policy. You make it vague like this. So if you want to get rid of somebody, then you just have to point to whatever contradictory policy is out there.
And then they're gone. Yeah, that's funny you should say that, because I have really been, and hopefully Josh Fluke is watching this. But Josh, your corporate America. Hi, Josh. Your corporate America series is, first of all, it's hilarious, and second of all, it's very eye-opening. And I'm not ashamed to say that part of that was what inspired me to write the last couple of posts I have on the Rational Mail about the old order versus the new order. And part of this new order is exposing corporate America and seeing it like firsthand. And if you haven't seen, I won't go into too much detail, but if you haven't seen that series on Josh Fluke's channel, go check that out. It's really, it's funny as hell too. He's a funny guy. So getting back to this, I wanted to go down these things. We don't have to go to every single bullet point here, but I just wanted to throw these out there so we can sort of talk about each one. But before we do, I want to say that this is essentially a manifesto. This is one page of at least 3 that I have, and I think there's probably more to this. But this thing reads, and this is why I brought up Josh Fluke, This thing reads like it is a company handbook that you get when you are like a new hire. So it's like, okay, you guys are going to be in a relationship. Here's your your corporate handbook, your relationship handbook to follow. And just like you were saying just a minute ago, if you violate any of these rules, then that's grounds for termination. And I look at this and I go, well, okay, if that's the case, then who am I working for? What's the corporate culture of my relationship with this person that since I am on this campus, these are the rules that I'm expected to follow. Now, again, I see something like this, and maybe obviously this is in Australia, but I see something like this sort of filtering its way out into the wild. Certainly, it's already out on social media. So as we go through these, you'll get an idea of what I mean by it being a handbook here. The first one here is ask for a date and to respect when the answer is no. Now, remember, every woman that has been like a proponent of this has said, well, all of these apply to men too. So when a woman asks you if you want to go out on a date and you say no, then you have the right to be respected for having said no.
That's like saying tampons are free, but they're free for men too. Like, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I think they start this off because I think that as we move into sort of our new order, our new brave new world, our global sexual marketplace, there is going to be this presumption that, it happens both ways. And everything on all of these lists and everything that we're going to talk about today, they're grounded in one thing, and that is the presumption of an egalitarian goal state. Like if we all follow these things, we could have an equal, in fact, they even mentioned it in one of the pages here, we can have a nice equal egalitarian relationship if you will just behave in the proper way. And everything that's on every article, every little bullet point on here pretty much relates to women's mating strategy to some degree and is anti-men's mating strategy. And me more than anybody else has probably talked about hypergamy and men's mating strategy. There are our innate biological imperatives that form what our strategies are to reproduce. Most of this is in a gynocentric perspective. So the presumption, the power dynamic of all of these articles already presumes a female power dynamic. So to ask for a date and to respect when the answer is no. So essentially what that's saying is, betas, if she says no, you should go walk away and accept that and accept that rejection.
Yeah, okay? Even though what were they doing before that, really? Calling her a lesbian? Like, they're too scared.
Yeah. Well, and that's what
so ridiculous doublespeak.
Well, yeah, it is. And remember, from a gynocentric power perspective here, let me take that off here.
It's like a threat point.
It's like it is. It's threat point. So what it means is, if she says no to you, then you are not allowed to go on your misogynist websites and say, this bitch said no to me, because that's one of the things is when you put the dating, initiative, I guess, on women to either ask a man out or to be the one who is the primary selector. It's if women had it their way, it would be guys lining up against the wall, stripped down to their underwear, and the woman goes, you. I mean, essentially, that's what Tinder really is. Yeah, it's like, okay, you'll do, and everybody else, you're dismissed. That's what they do on The Bachelor. That's what they do on what was the other show? Is it Love Island or some shit like that? I don't know. All those ones,
Troy.
all of those quote unquote reality, all of those quote unquote reality shows are principled around one thing: is that men display and women select, and that's usually the way things are. But the men are in the old order, men are expected to be the ones who are the initiators. They're the ones who are supposed to be the ones that are asking for a date. And so what happens is, in a female primary sexual marketplace, which is where I think we're headed, we're really kind of headed for a female initiated, polygamous mating market, I guess. If women had their druthers, if they had it their way, only alpha men, only qualified, eligible bachelors would be able to come up to them and ask them for a date. Anyone else, if you're a beta male, if you're, you know, a sad sack or whatever, if you should know better than to approach any woman until you have your shit together. And then maybe a woman will take pity on you and you go out on a date with you or whatever. And I know that sounds like really like, oh, men sound like they're victims. No, it's not victimology. It's,
we're not making
that's the power. That's the power dynamic. The power dynamic is men should be displaying for me, and I should have the option to choose any of them that I want to. And if I say no to them, because we're kind of crossing over into that state. So if a beta male comes and asks and she says no, and that guy gets kind of huffy and pissy about it, then never in the history of humankind have we had the capacity to go and like ruin that woman's reputation by saying, oh, she said no to me, or she's really a bitch, or she's, you know, she's so full of herself or whatever. And women are very, you know, self-conscious about that kind of stuff, because now your brand of me is whatever's on your Instagram, whatever's on your Facebook, whatever's on whatever else. So I would say that's probably the first thing that's one of the reasons why that is the very first thing on this list. The other one is refuse a date without feeling guilty. So not only do they want to be able to tell you, yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's key, because it's the funniest thing. You know how that whole men aren't entitled to sex, but no man I've ever met or ever talked to, even the crappy ones online, have ever expressed that. And when you really delve into it, you find it's that when a girl goes out on a date with a guy and turns him down for sex, she feels guilty, and so she projects those feelings on him. Well, if I'm feeling bad like this, it must be because he's entitled. Because as you already know, they're socially hardwired not to take responsibility for things. And so there, when you see that stuff, that I have the right to say this without feeling guilty, that's her offloading her emotions onto the other guy, which is a weird thing, because it's psychologically, it's not the healthiest thing. So the fact that they're parading it on here is a good thing. I mean, you might as well just hand out Xanax with the pamphlet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, but here, not only do they want to be these, you know, women at this university, not only do they want to be the primary selectors, they don't want to have any liability for having turned and liability all the way down to having felt bad about telling you no.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, I can't control how a woman is going to feel about telling me, oh, sorry, I don't want to have a date with you. And if she feels bad about it, and I mean, unless I'm like out there like raising hell about it, I can't control how she feels. I can't control how if she feels guilty about doing something like that. So that's kind of ridiculous right there. Now, again, this is why this is a female primary gynocentric list. This is all about, and the next one here is really good. Suggest what we'll do on a date. I have the right to suggest what we'll do on a date. How many women have ever told you, hey, here's what we're going to do on our date? Remember, for men, it's about the burden of performance. It's they want, like, if a woman says, yeah, I'll go on a date with you, you better damn well have a plan. I tell guys this all the time.
It's the same thing. She's gonna feel bad if she picks the wrong thing, so she'd rather pick nothing and just not go out with you than worry about that. It's that same guilt thing.
Well, remember, this is supposed to apply to both men and women. So if I don't feel like I can suggest a date, I'm the guy, right? I'm going to be able to suggest. Can I suggest a date, please? Can you imagine a guy like coming out on a first date like that? The other thing, before I get dig too much deeper in here, everything on this list and the other lists that were accompanying this, everything that's part of this is, well, like I said, egalitarian, but it is also rooted in the old social order. Nobody dates like this. No one says, you know what, here's my laundry list of things. Here's my bill of rights. Here's my dating bill of rights. And I expect you to sign here before we can actually engage in you taking me out to dinner. No, nobody does that. Nobody dates like they did in the 1950s.
Yeah, this is like a sanitized Disney 13-year-old on a date with another 13-year-old TV show is what this is.
So here you go. The next one is refuse any activities, even if my date is excited about them. Translation: I don't care about your nerdy, stupid hobbies. If you think that that's a date, then I reserve the right to just blow you off and flake on you if that's what I want to do.
So I don't feel bad. It's in the charter.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't ghost you. I merely followed my inalienable rights.
So no, I don't feel like going rock climbing with you. Okay, fine. The other thing is, where is the part in here where it says guys can just simply next you? If that's the case, I reserve the right to be able to blow you off and to just, I
reserve the right to talk to my friends about your performance.
Abdicate all interest in you at any time. That should be part of it, right? Have my own feelings and be able to express them. Were you unable to before? Is this something that we need to add to this? That we need to have my own feelings.
Wait till you get lower down. These ones even get stupider.
Yeah. Ask someone not to interrupt me. Now, this, of course, is the mansplaining part of this. So, how many times imagine me saying, you know what, in my charter, in my Bill of Rights, it says I'm allowed not to be interrupted by you. So shut the fuck up.
That's probably how they
quiet. Yeah, please be right. According to this, since this is supposed to be unisex here, please just shut your mouth for the next 10 minutes. Be heard and have my feelings and thoughts acknowledged. Again, this is a date, man. This is not like a marriage contract. This is not like us two getting together to, have babies and meet each other's family. These are this is all the relationship kind of stuff. I get it, but refused to lend money. So
I'm not going to argue with that.
I'm not going to argue with that one either. I think that's a pretty good one. But again, the presumption is that a guy, since remember, because women are going to very soon be at least 51%, 52% of the breadwinners in the United States very soon. If the guy doesn't want, if the guy doesn't make as much money as she does, there might be these sort of implied contracts like, oh, well, if you loan me some money, then I'll be able to take you out, kind of thing.
I put a link in the private chat for you too, if you want to show that one a little later. And I think that link is related to that point. And as soon as you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll grab this here real quick and put this in my...
It's from Griffith University. It's part of their student services package. And I think looking through this list, if you picture a psychological profile of somebody who needs to be told this stuff, I think that link describes exactly what kind of demographic we're looking at here.
Childcare. Yeah. I'll tell you another, and I'm glad I see Josh is in the chat right now. Josh, one of the best episodes, one of the best segments, I guess you did on the corporate America one, was comparing corporate work culture to kindergarten and preschools. And showing like the tables and the balloons and everything that companies are supposed to do to increase company morale, all of those things. Yeah. Well, look, we like a company benefit is to have a ball pit. It's like, there's our idiot coders and we're rolling around like 10-year-olds in the ball pit. Yeah. See, that'll put them at ease.
I've been on the Google Slide in Montreal. It was pretty fun.
But I thought that was probably one of the best ones, Josh. I really want to get you on, Josh, because I want to talk, and I'm glad you brought up the childcare thing here too in the link, Ryan, because I think that as we move into our sort of brave new order of gender dynamics here, a lot of corporate culture, one of the things that I don't think Josh hit on intentionally, but was certainly hitting on, was that American corporate culture, as it has become more feminized, has become more like juvenilized. It has become more childlike. It has become more like romper room. And
you can even see that in the design of this pamphlet, that humans are flat design.
This is another, exactly. And this pamphlet or this manifesto here is another outcropping of that. I think one of the reasons why you see these companies, like these really, I don't say progressive, but these regressive companies, resorting to ball pits and ping pong tables and company talent shows and crap like snacks. That is snacks is because breakfast bar is because we have allowed women into what used to be a male space, which was the American work culture. Was you get all these guys together, you hired a guy, you had hired men to get together, to put together a product, to do a service, whatever it is, to be the best, because they all shared a common passion, interest, whatever, in whatever that vocation, that endeavor, that male endeavor was. Over the course of the last 40 to 50 years, we have slowly put women into what is really essentially American work culture was a male space. Now it is becoming something that is more about gynocentrism. It's more about women. And so now,
because women can sit down in an office for 8 hours without getting antsy and needing a recess, just like school.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then it becomes a social thing for them. It becomes an extension of high school, an extension of college, because what happens is women go in there and they go, oh, we need to make this way, and we need to have childcare, and we need to have a breakfast bar, and we need to have the ball pit over here, and we just need to feel better about coming in here, because if we're expected to be here like 10 hours a day, then at least we can have pretty colors on the walls to make us feel better about coming in. And that to me is really sort of a redirection, a real function, because we put women into that, or made it necessary to put women into that male space of work culture. And so what do? They want to change that culture, like any male space. They want to come in. First of all, they want to be there because they want to be the first woman to be in that male space. And then once they get in there, then they go, well, hey guys, haven't you thought about maybe having pregnancy leave? Haven't you thought about having childcare? Haven't you thought about having company education? What about a talent show? Talent show would be great for morale.
And individually, each one sounds, it's not so bad, whatever, it's not a big deal. But then you put them all together and it paints a clear picture. Here's the funny part too. The high performing guys have been pushed out, and I've seen this over here in Toronto especially. They're now the 6-month contractors that get sent in to fix a problem, earn 200% of what they would normally earn with zero benefits. It's become very alpha male mercenary type, while the girls are like in their little corporate harem. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's very fascinating to watch.
I really, Josh, if you're still watching this, I really want to do another show with you about the sort of feminization of the American work culture and how it was a male space and what it's turned into right now. I'd love to get to maybe have you on Rule Zero or something as well. Renegade Show, you're paying attention. You read the description, didn't you, of this video? So here's the rules for my shows anyways, is if you have a super chat that is on topic, I will prioritize those. If you don't, I usually save your off-topic ones till the end of the show so that we can get through what it is that we're talking about. But Renegade Show says, how long until they turn breaking up with a woman who wants to be with you into some sort of emotional rape? If you go and I really need to have Deepika on. She's this documentarist in India who is, I think, part of the Men Too movement as well. I was taught, she's a friend of mine that I've known for a little while. I exchange information with her on Twitter, but she is in India, and in India they actually do that. You can be punished for breaking up with a woman, or if a woman in India has sex with you and it's under the pretense that her having sex with you means that you're going to marry her, however they choose to sort of retroactively rejigger the intent and the consent, that woman can accuse you of rape because you didn't marry her.
Ooh, the old property rights.
Yes. And in India, it is getting uglier and uglier. And again, remember, we're in a global sexual marketplace. So just because this is in Australia on some university campus, or just because the gender situations in India are what they are, does not mean that they won't be exported or imported in some way, shape, or form here. So yeah, I think that in Australia, again, what are they trying to do in Australia? They're trying to make it illegal for a man to misrepresent himself on a date. So if a woman has sex with you believing that you're a lawyer and you're not actually a barista, then she had sex with you believing that you are going to make partner soon in the law firm.
Is that going to be tort law or criminal law?
It'll be a criminal law. It'll actually be a felony. They tried to do something like that in the state of Tennessee. I don't think it got passed, but there was also at least some preliminary legislation to make it as it would be statutory rape, because that woman would not have otherwise had sex with you had she known that you weren't actually a cardiologist.
Dude, that would be horrible for the first guy to fall into that trap, but I would be fascinated to see how the courts play that one out.
Right.
Because isn't it the dude that was in all that trouble for Mattress Girl? Didn't he end up suing the university?
Yes.
And I believe he got an amazing payout. I know this sounds crass, but it's almost like I want to be caught up in the middle of this because I can get retired off of this.
Yeah, you can.
That Catholic school guy that had that crap in the with the native tribes banging on their drums in front of him. I think he got paid out too.
Oh yeah, yeah, big payout for the gosh, what the heck was that guy's name? The Sandman, I think was his last name. The kid who was just sort of run up the flagpole by the media,
and it kind of gives me hope too on this, because it means they're pushing, but as soon as somebody pushed back, there's a good enough set of legal mechanisms in place that it's not like a hopeless fight.
Another name, Sabrina Erdely. She was the writer for the Rolling Yeah, no, very not hot. For the writer for the Rolling Stones, who did the UVA rape case hoax that lost a lot of money for both Rolling Stone and the University of Virginia. I think, UVA, yeah.
Did she get fired at least?
Well, I don't know, because she was, I think she was just, she was a contract writer. So she wasn't really actually a staff writer anyways, but you can't make any money off of her, but you can sue Rolling Stone magazine and you can sue UVA, which is exactly what the fraternity did. And they made a lot of money off of them. So it's that's an interesting topic, because what it's going to happen is more like corporate interests, education, like university systems, even big corporate interests, or like a big media outlet, like just say like Rolling Stone magazine, they are going to have to be the ones who are the gatekeepers of that, because if they go and they run with something like a hoax, a rape hoax, something that is like, and even Sabrina Erdely, she was on, she had been interviewed prior to writing this story, saying that she goes and hunts for stories like this. She looks for the most outrageous, outlandish stories that she can write.
Yeah, they have to. That's the only way they can get views and get paid.
Right. And remember, this was just prior to Me Too being a thing. And it was on the buildup to like, how are we going? Honestly, I think it was really, how are we going to find some way to bring down Donald Trump? Well, we need to find some kind of some sort of angle, I guess, to get him on sexual assault. So let's make sexual assault as ambiguous as we possibly can.
Oh yeah, with the Stormy Daniels thing. Only guy ever to sleep with the porn star and then to get paid for it.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh more than anything in all of your guys' politics.
So let's look at the rest of these here. So she refused to lend money, set boundaries to say no or yes as I please. So what does that tell you about the power dynamic here? If I'm the guy, I can say yes or no as I please. I don't think so. This is about women. This is about women saying, I want this. I want the relationship to be whatever I say the relationship should be. Change my mind at any time. Well, that's a
straight out of a 1950s playbook.
What's the women's prerogative is to the option to change my mind at any time that I want to. That's the maxim, women can change her mind whenever she wants to. Refuse to be sexually intimate at any time. Right. Again, they keep saying, oh, this is all about men too. It's like, no, this isn't. This is all within a female, power dynamic here. I'm not. So here's the thing. And before we keep going on here is, you can't argue against any of this. You can't say, because this is everything in here is completely unassailable, and if you look at the responses, the first response when anybody had any problems with this, like guys go, oh my God, go MGTOW. Geez, look at this woman wants basically to have a relationship with a slave, and have, a robotic slave. A woman may as well get her own sex doll, because only a sex doll will acquiesce to everything on this list. But once you say that, if a man has a problem with anything on this list,
it'll be weaponized as shit.
It's already binary. It's binary, and that's what everyone's. Well, shouldn't a woman be able to change her mind? Yeah. Shouldn't she should suggest what she wants on a? What do you believe that she shouldn't be able to change her mind at any time?
Why does she have to want to be raped? They go.
Yeah, exactly. Are you apologizing for rape? And you can't say no to any of this because it's written in such a way that you're presuming that, like, some of these things I do. Yeah, it's womanese, but it's like some of the stuff I do agree with, right? I don't think, like, if you're a beta male dude and you get shot down, you're done. At least she did you the favor by shooting you down and giving you a straight rejection. It's when women go and say, well, can't we just be friends? And then the guy gets a glimmer of hope. So it's like, well, what is it? So you mean there's a chance? Yeah, if I do, if I jump through hoops, or I'm a better person, then it'll work out. That's when you get into trouble. But at least if a woman actually gives you a real rejection, I agree. I think, yeah, you should. You say, you know what? Okay, not this one. Fine. I'll take it on the chin. I'll go with the next one. Or, at least it saves me the time and effort and energy and money that I would have invested into this. If, at least she's not trying to use me for, you want to add a bullet point onto here. It's like, I have the right not to be used for a free meal. That might be a good one to add on there too, right?
Especially with college kids, they don't eat.
Yeah.
They're refuse. Shit.
What was it? Oh shit! It's trying to
refuse sex with anybody because they took me out on an expensive date or any other reason at any time.
Yeah. Which one of these jumps out at you the most? I think that I was like, refuse sex with anyone just because they took me out on a date. Now, this right here is the reason why a woman will put this on there is because women believe that when a man it takes you out on an expensive date or takes you to a concert or whatever, that there is sort of this implied contract. There is this transactional nature between you and the woman that you took out. And so depending on like, oh, well, I took you to, I flew her to Jamaica versus we went down to Taco Bell and had a couple of, bean burritos, whatever. That's a little bit different, but like the cost involved in that implies like soft prostitution. Is that not what this is? And what I find really ironic about, like, I refuse the sex with anyone, yet these are still the same. This is the same demographic of women who have no problem whatsoever with sugaring, with a sugar daddy or finding arrangements. They're okay with that. Well, my sugar daddy sent me to Aruba, so I'm going to have sex with him, kind of thing. And it's this unspoken, well, she's really my girlfriend. She's really not my girlfriend. But when it is a low value male who believes that he can buy and purchase his way into her good graces and her intimacy, this is why women want this as sort of their fail-safe. They want to be able to back out of it, right? Here's a way, ladies, if you're listening, here's a way to get out of this. Say no in the first place. If you don't,
but you'll feel bad if you say no.
Yeah.
So you'd rather go. That's why they go.
And if you, well, instead of giving the guy a false glimmer of hope, because, we're going to really have to, like, within this generation and probably the one that's coming up, like my grandchildren, in that generation, we're really going to have to raise the next generation of certainly women to understand not a local sexual marketplace dynamics, but a global sexual marketplace dynamics. So if your idea of sex is based on a transactional nature rather than a validational nature, or ladies, if you think that the guy that you are dating right now sees it in a transactional nature, it is incumbent upon you to either break up with him or to say, look, we're only platonic, whatever, and make in black and white, in overt language that he can understand. Because
I wonder if they have that in the responsibilities part of this pamphlet, all 4 of them. Nope.
Well, and I've answered this on a million different podcasts, and I've talked about this even on Pat Campbell's radio show. Whenever we have a high school shooter, or we had like the Alec Manassian thing, whenever there's sort of a jilted beta male guy, it's when they go on their rampage, it's usually after the final straw, and that's usually rejection. In the case of Nicholas Cruz, who is the easiest example of all this, because there's others, but when you look at Nicholas Cruz, the first thing that, like, the girlfriend broke up with him and so he lost his shit. Or when you see a murder suicide with a
like that Colorado couple.
Yeah, if you see a murder suicide, or the wife is going to divorce the guy because she's already getting it with somebody at work or whatever else, the onus is always on the guy to handle his shit. It's not on the guy. It's not on the woman who was the catalyst for him losing his shit or him killing, like Anthony Bourdain, right? Asia Argento did not kill Anthony Bourdain. She facilitated, she was the catalyst in him deciding to kill himself, but she didn't actually put the gun to his head. Her behavior, he took it one way and decided to kill himself. Well, what women will say, and the women who are, writing lists like this, is that, well, she didn't owe him sex. He was not owed anything. You know, just because she had sex with him once or twice or 10 times does not mean that the next time he's nice to her, the next time he does something for her, or that she can't go be her own person. If he has a problem with that, that's on him, and she never owes him anything. And that's based on a false belief that men believe that they're owed. One of the things that I see happen with like nice guys is nice guys get it coming and going with women today. Yep. Because the nice guy, most guys who I like, if I talk about nice guys, they'll say, well, you know, we're actually really nice. You know, I really want, and maybe they feel that way. Like you remember you and I talk about, do they actually believe in this stuff? I think nice guys actually do believe in this stuff. They do believe that they're nice and they want to be of use, of course, because, you know, in the back of their head, they're thinking, well, maybe if I, you know, carry the groceries in a few more times, maybe we'll get a date, or I'll get a kiss, or she'll hug me, or whatever else. And then we can
my
go
single mom gave me the rules and I'll take it.
Yeah. So yeah, that always going to, yeah, of course, because most nice guys believe in the transactional nature of sex, not the validational side, where it's because most nice guys, most beta guys aren't the guys that women have like sort of unbridled lust for. But those nice guys doesn't necessarily mean that they're not genuinely nice. But what women do is then they say, well, these nice guys are just being nice because they want to get my pants. And that pisses off nice guys, because nice guys, and then what do nice guys do? They go and they say, well, it's all these alpha male guys who are pretending to be nice, not like a real nice guy like me.
Yeah.
How come I get to be punished?
That's the problem. They're equating nice with good, and it's not. Girls don't like nice. Guys don't like. Nobody likes nice. The thing about nice is it's milquetoast. It's literally this flat design cartoon. 13-year-old.
I'm going to write this down in the great big book of everything. We need to do the nice guy show. The nice guy show. Because let me put this
puked a little in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the Rational Male 101. We really need to sort of do a little bit of remedial stuff when it comes to like nice guy versus jerk spectrum, because I think that I know a lot of nice guys. I've been a nice guy. I think, you know, I've been the guy who tried to make, you know, I had the nice card. It didn't buy much, you know. It got tapped out really quick. And I think that there's still, like, even today, even in a global sexual marketplace, and like sort of abandoning that old way of thinking about it, like for us being in the red pill and being in the, you know, communities and circles that we run in, we tend to think, oh my God, how can anybody still think that being a nice guy would be a good idea? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, yeah, there's a lot of, because it's natural. It's a deductive problem solving for most guys. If I'm nice, I ask her what she wants. She tells me, I go, okay, I would be very nice to do something like that.
That's that equality thing. I trust that we're on the same team, men and women. We're not. We're adversarial, especially from a dating aspect. In fact, you even got a few of them in the chat. There was one guy talking about that could be somebody's sister, man. And I was like, there we go again.
I would very much. I wish being a nice guy really worked. I wish it did, because I don't want to have to be an asshole. I like being a nice dude. I like helping people out. I'm a generous shit. You know me, man. I get you get it from both sides. Half of the problems that I end up in is because I was too forgiving. I was too nice. I was like, you know, what is it? 48 Laws of Power. Never put too much trust in friends. I do that all the time because, like, I'm on one page and I'm thinking, well, how can people not want to, you know, be nice? How can people not want to do these things? And that, I think a lot of nice guys feel the same way until they get, you know, jilted, or until they get burned for that. And then what's funny is then they get it again from women going, oh, who hurt you?
Yeah.
How did you get burned? What's wrong with you? Like, even when I was talking to Andrew Hales in that interview, that's the first thing he started with. Like,
who hurt you?
What was it in your past that made you turn to be Rollo Tomassi and such a misogynistic son of a bitch? You know, like, where you should have blamed it on metal. You know, yeah, it was metal, man. I should have just went full fucking Lemmy Kilmister on it.
Nice.
That would be funny. So let's keep going here. But the refusing sex part is the trope about nice guys feeling like they're owed sex. So let's move on. Having friends. This is interesting because this is sort of the let me put this up here again. This is the the Andrew Tate paradox, or the Donovan Sharp paradox. You are not allowed to have friends. You're not allowed to see. Here's what's interesting is, like, I think that women ought to be able to have friends. I think women ought to be able to, if that's what they want, if they say, you know what, I've got my girlfriends, I got my guy friends, blah blah blah, and I want to be in a relationship with Rollo too. Cool. I'm totally down with that, because when I watch what she does with her friends, that gives me an idea of what she's all about. So again, like when we were talking yesterday with Corey, and Corey was talking about how you need to exercise boundaries. You need to demonstrate boundaries. You can't do that if you are on top of her all the time by saying, no, you don't get friends. No, give me your phone. I'm I'm deleting your Instagram. I'm deleting your social media accounts because you only get to be with me. That's how possessive I am. And I run and I lock horns with guys like this, because I know Craig from Abu American really believes in mate guarding. And I'm of the opinion that mate guarding is, today in a global sexual marketplace, it's much more beta male than it is alpha male. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its uses, and I do understand why. Well, I would say why we evolved that. Yeah, why we involved that imperative to want to mate guard. I get it. It's an instinct in men, and depending on how you express it and how it's manifested in you, that's what makes it either alpha or beta, what if you want to even qualify it as such. But in this case, I think one of the reasons why they're putting this to this list right here is have friends, is because I'm sure that there's been so many women who got with guys that they wanted to have a relationship with, and they got into a relationship with a guy like Andrew Tate, who says, if you're going to be with me, you're going to be under my rules, and my rules are you don't even talk to other guys. Now, I still think, and I think even Andrew would agree with me, is that she can go do whatever she wants to, but the moment she does that, I'm out of that relationship.
There's the boundaries. Everybody's talking about your boundaries. No, just show them.
Yeah. So I think that's probably on there again. Like, as a man, shouldn't I be able to go out with my boys? If you're going to have your girls' night out, then shouldn't I be able to go and have my guys' night out and go to the strip club? That kind of stuff. Like this tit for tat, and then again, like you were saying, it becomes this adversarial thing. And I really think that's where that comes from. Next one is have my space away from my partner. Now this is I find
I need space thing, or is this he's too clingy, or is this both?
it's the clingy thing. Well, probably both. I would say have my space away from my partner. One thing that and as I was saying at the very beginning of this show, is that all of these ideas are based on an egalitarian standard. Like, if he gets to have his space, I get to have my space. And what that egalitarian goal state presumes is that men don't need women and women don't need men. And so, like, why even come together? Why? Like, I've always said this, and you've heard me say this 100 times, is that men and women are complements to one another. We evolved to be complementary to one another, and we are better together than we are apart. But in every instance, I pick on feminists because it's easier, but it's also kind of on the MGTOW side as well. Is in feminism is founded on two basic premises. Where the first prime directive is never do anything for the express pleasure of a man. And if you do, then you are violating the strong, independent woman narrative. So if you do something nice, or you feel like you want to look up to a man, or you want to do something nice for that guy, or you want to wear lingerie, or you want to cook him a meal, or all of the things that would be on just the 6-point bullet list that Rich put out for like ladies, if you want to make yourself more attractive, what was it? Have long hair, keep yourself in shape, fuck him now and then,
shut up.
make a good souffle, yeah, exactly. Shut up. Let him have his time, give him some. So and it's very simple. I don't think he had more than 6 points on that list, and it makes the 6 o'clock news, and people lose their shit. We have this page right here. We got 2 other ones we haven't even looked at right yet. And everybody's like, well, yeah, of course, this seems like a good idea, that nobody has any problem when it's something as detailed as this, and men are expected to fall in line with what a woman's right to a relationship ought to be ideally for him. So, but to have space away from my partner is the the right really to just be able to go date and fuck other guys without having him be suspicious. It is the right to like these last two ones here, have friends, have space away. Both of those are a right not to be mate guarded, because women know that that's what guys will do. Guys,
it is like, funny too. The one right after it is to break up when I want to. It almost seems like that was like purposefully put there.
Yeah. The next one here is ask my partner when I want more affection. Okay. Now, I think this one would rub women the wrong way if their partner was, let's see, clingy to begin with, that she has the right to change her mind anytime she wants to. She has the right to refuse to be sexually intimate with him, but yet she can ask the partner when I want more affection. Well, imagine the guy asking the woman for more affection. That's, first of all, that's negotiating desire, which is a bad beginning, to start with. But I don't know how many times I don't see how this really works in women's like favor. Like if you're with that guy in the first place and he's not giving you enough affection, most women don't ask for more affection. Again, this is the open communication solves everything. No, I mean, women have their own space away. So really what it is this whole list, I should say, is the right to exercise hypergamy without any consequences. That's what this entire list is really about.
I think that's fair.
It's all about facilitating. I have the right as a woman to facilitate hypergamy any way I see fit, and to have no consequences and to have no liabilities for having done that. So
this from a university that's got an amazing front page childcare service, hinting at single moms who most likely have dated a guy who did a lot of this stuff. They're saying nobody else gets to do this to me.
Yeah. You know what?
They left their little Tates, whoever knocked them up, and now they're here at university because they want to get a good job and don't talk to me, but I'll talk to him.
You know, I would love to have, I'd love to throw this by Abu American and see what he says to some of these. Like, the next one is, I have the right to
he'll just shrug it off saying that, yeah, it's not like this in our part of the world, and then leave it at that.
Of course he will, but I have the right to say, I love you without having sex. Okay. I have the right to have sex without saying I love you. Wow.
Like, what guy demands this?
Yeah. Yeah. What dude has ever says either one of these things, right?
No condom until I get the L-bombs.
So,
babe.
I mean, look at these are both contradictory here. Like, have the right to say I love you without having sex. Have the right to have sex without saying I love you. So
intentionally vague.
Again, I'm getting back to the point about feminism here. Feminism teaches women that they need to be autonomous things, self-fulfilling autonomous things that have no need outside themselves to gratify themselves or to have anything outside themselves. And it's like this isolated, you're not even a woman anymore. You're just this thing that is self-fulfilling, affirming, whatever. And here's my Bill of Rights to facilitate me being a person who is so independent that I don't need a guy. And
you basically described that graphic that's right beside it too, in the top corner.
Yeah, I don't need you is what this is. Talk about others about talk to others about my relationships. I have the right to talk to others about my relationships. I'm not saying a woman shouldn't have the right to do that, but if you do, there's consequences for those things. Right? There's consequences for those behaviors. When I was talking to Hotep Jesus, and when Hotep Jesus was on Joe Rogan, that was one of the first things he said. He was trying to say, if women want to have better relationships with the guys that they're with, then keep that. There has to be something that you have that is private, unique and private to you. And it's so. And this is what Hotep or Brian said. He said, am I in a relationship with you, or am I in a relationship with you and your BFF, or am I in a relationship with you and your mom? Either this is us or I'm out. And this is another thing is I want to be able to talk to others about my relationship without any consequences. This is another one where I want to be free of any responsibility or any consequences for having talked about those things. I want to still be able to have a relationship with you, even though I told my best friend that you have a little dick, those kinds of things. Next one is be myself without changing to suit others. Well, again, I need to be the one who is, perfect in every way and not seek anything outside myself. I'm the one. I'm not going to change for you. I will never do anything for the express purpose of pleasing you.
Sorry, I'm not fat and ugly. Your eyes are broken.
Yeah.
Your brain's damaged.
Next one is, so to not act seductive, macho, they throw that in there for guys, to not act seductive, macho, or sexually interested. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, I don't want this responsibility.
Stuff goes without saying. You don't have to do any of this stuff, but you're right. Like, things will happen differently if you act one way or the other. That's just adulting.
It's responsibility. I have the right to pursue my hypergamous mating strategy without any consequences or any any liability. The last one here on this one is dress how I choose, even if others don't approve or like it. Maybe I should run that one by Craig and Abu American.
Yeah. What if she wears a pink burqa? Would that be okay?
Would that be all right? So that's
I don't mean to shit on the Islamic guys on here.
No, it's not. And I'm not saying that, but I'm throwing that out there because let me pull that out. Okay. Well, because this is an ideal. This is an ideal that we're supposed to believe is something that we should aim for, that we should train ourselves for. Let me look real quick here. I got Black Sheep says, is the lack of strong character that females have that they have to push laws down everyone's throat? If so, is that a red flag?
Women like control, and the best way to get control is to nag.
Yeah, and to codify it.
It's like guys, how we puff up our chest and look intimidating to another guy. It's just our individual strengths.
Yeah, and codify it. Oh, geez. Thanks, Sterling. Thanks for that $20, brother man.
Can't wait to get to the responsibilities, though. It's going to be a much shorter segment.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then the last one here is Red Pill at 64 after 32 years of marriage. Rational male now. I bought 3 copies for my sons. I can fill a chapter in your new book. Oh, okay. Please do. I'd love to. We can add some more pages to it.
Ghostwriting, you son of a
ghostwriting. I have I had planned. I should have, now that we're halfway through the show here. I had planned to have Pat Campbell write the foreword to my upcoming book. The offer's still on the table for him to write the foreword. I don't know if he'll be able to do that now because of his timing, his situation. I still, it's on the table and I'm not going to remove it. If nothing else, I'll probably write it myself. But I usually like to get somebody else to write the forwards for my books. Like I had Sam write one, and I forget who else I wrote for. Yeah. So let's. So did we catch up on all of our supers? I think we did. And thanks for joining me today. Oh, Pat, by the way, Pat Campbell. In case you didn't catch the Wednesday show, Pat's he's still recovering. And as it stands right now, I will not be on his terrestrial radio show on Fridays. I think he's sort of cut back on his hours right now because it's really, I mean, the guy had brain surgery. It's really, taxing on him. And so these are his words, for the foreseeable future, he's not going to be on the show and I'm not going to be on his show for a while. It's nothing personal. It's just the circumstances that happened. It's possible.
He and Peterson, man, same month.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I know people were asking me about Peterson too, and I know that Molyneux did something on him, and so did Vox Day. So let's leave it.
Let me guess, scathingly a glowing endorsement, hope that it gets better.
Yeah, they danced around. Well, and then God Saw It actually had one too. I think a lot of people were just sort of coming out because Michaela decided that she was going to, give an update. And I don't know why the hell the dude is in Russia getting detoxed, but that's that's on him.
The only thing that bugs me about that, so she's obviously reading it from a prompt. Mm-hmm. Take a take or two, memorize it first, put on a shirt, and put some like this is an official statement. Don't be sitting there in your teddy and pajamas talking about your dad. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just like, come on, show you care, put some effort.
Comb your hair before you go on.
Yeah, but I do hope he gets better. And I'm actually. Dude, we disagree with a lot of Peterson stuff. That was the first thing we ever did on a podcast was just to dunk on Peterson ideas. Yeah. But not one of us wishes him ill, and we hope he lives a long life. The fact that his family is sticking together, and they have arguably a hard time. Daughter's up on medication. Peterson's like medically in a huge amount of trouble. The wife has cancer, and as a family, they're sticking together, which is an awesome thing. And not a single person even thinks anything of that other than to dunk on him because, my brand needs another 5,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah. I don't, again, that's another, I think that's fallout of sort of our new social order right now is you'll get people who, he's very polarizing. Like you either love Peterson or you hate on Peterson. And so you'll get guys who are like, oh yeah, maybe they're followers of Vox because Vox has been very critical of Peterson. He thinks he's the Antichrist. I mean, and quite literally thinks he's the Antichrist. And then you'll get like God Sod who I guess I follow along with God Sod is like, I don't agree with a lot of what Peterson has to say, particularly with respect to like intersexual dynamics. Some of what he talks about, I do. He's picked up a lot of stuff about hypergamy, but he's very one-sided on that. I also see him as very blue pill in respect to he's only ever been with his wife. And here's another thing is because his wife has cancer and she is his soulmate and has been with if you know Peterson, you probably know his history with his wife. And to have her, sort of be on death's door with cancer. Yeah, I can understand exactly why he's where he's at right now, because when you are blue pill and that is where you're at, I'm not saying you have to, cut yourself off or be like unemotional or anything like that. I get it, but it's that much more hard for a guy. I mean, it's hard anyways, even if you're a red pill guy and your wife's going to die. Yeah. If my wife's going to die, I would be just a freaking mess. But
exactly. Well, yeah, you're supposed to. That's the point.
Yeah, you're supposed to be. But if I was blue pill and I still believed in the soulmate and all this other stuff, it's like that's a part of myself that's dying, and I think it intensifies that a little bit more. But that doesn't mean I go, yeah, I hope he dies or I hope he has a painful death or whatever. Like that's what like God Sod was reading some of these comments about Peterson that people were like the haters were throwing at him, and I'm like.
And not just trolls like we get either. Like these are big named accounts of big popular people talking trash.
Right. And I know Vox wouldn't, he would not be, wish him ill or anything, but like, he's going to come down on him. He's going to say, this is a result of the guy that lives the way that he does. And, it is what it is. I still think a lot of what Peterson has to say has some merit to it, but I certainly wouldn't wish him ill, God. I mean,
dude, I think if Peterson was the worst debate we had to have, I think the world would be a way better place if he truly was the far side of the argument.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. You and I and on that other podcast we were on, that was actually what started that podcast was we wanted to get together because so many people were giving us grief because we were kind of holding his feet to the fire about him being blue pill and everything else. And I'm still kind of like, I don't know, 70-30 about him. So
it all depends on the idea, but yeah, same thing. Like talk to us about individual ideas and we'll argue whether they're good or they're bad. As far as his personal life, I've got really no comment on it. I just hope he gets better, lives a long life.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying he hasn't brought value to people's lives. He has. What that is to you, I'll leave that to you. I also know this is I've learned my lesson whenever it comes, particularly somebody as popular as Peterson, but whenever you are critical of a celebrity like Johnny Depp or who we were talking about before, if you are critical of any celebrity, there will be a freaking landslide of people going, yeah, well, you're not as cool as he is. What makes you think you can talk about him?
Dude, I don't know how bad your comments were on the Depp thing. Yeah. My video was just a garbage fire.
Yeah.
Like even mine, I was like, you know what? I get it. You have to red meat. So Johnny Depp's popular. You do it for some clout. Like I'm in there with you guys, but I'm like, all right. So their situation is like an 11 out of 10 situation. Here's some stuff you can take from it to work for you. And then every guy came out of the woodwork like, but how could she slap? And that was the only thing they wanted to hear is like, girl slap, girl bad, going my own way. I'm just like, are you even listening? And they would like, they do it on your videos. I know they do. Where they'll say, well, why don't you just, and then they'll bring up an argument. You're like, oh, you mean kind of like I did 3 minutes in?
Yeah.
And they just repeat what you said, thinking they're arguing with you on it.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Sorry to rant, but I was like, it's the
no, that's fine. And I can remember like this was like 2017. I mean, we were critical of Peterson before it was cool to be critical of Peterson. And I just felt like that's what we needed to do. It's not like I don't get along with Peterson. I do get along with Peterson. I would be happy to talk to the guy.
Dude,
But
yeah, we used to talk a little bit before all of this
yeah.
crap when he was just the professor. He was the one that got me started on how to like organize blog posts. Oh, was he?
Yeah, I had him as a follower for a bit.
Yeah.
YOLO here real quickly says, hi, is it any feminists documents? Are there any feminist documents, books about the strong, independent women and that women should never do anything for pleasing a man? I don't know if there is actually any kind of like codified
they dance around the subject. Gender studies stuff has
well,
it.
I mean, if you've been in this sphere long enough, if you follow, oh, gosh, I mean, you could probably just follow Jessica Valenti or Lindsay West long enough, and you'll probably hear her say something like that. You follow any hardcore feminist for a while, you'll get the idea. You'll come to understand really fast how feminists see men as superfluous, and I think.
And to be fair, we kind of are.
Yeah.
Like there's a social safety net that's so robust, you really don't need a man.
Yeah.
Which is fine by me, because then but people still want men. So you just got to switch from that. I'm not a commodity good. I'm a luxury good.
And that's
trads aren't making that switch. And that's why there's all this friction.
Right. And that's why in our new global sexual marketplace, that the ideas and the ideologies that we have between, like, say, feminism and whatever MGTOW ends up being tend to isolate the sexes. It divides them. It doesn't bring them together as complements. It divides them further, because the presumption on either side is that who they are is like, I'm sure you've heard women say this. I finally realized that I'm enough. And it's like,
what?
No,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, no, yeah, I'm gonna marry a bridge. There's your take for ROLLO for today, right?
And I don't take it too seriously, because there's always desperate, unattractive people that do this. I don't know why everybody gives them so much clout. I think that's the problem. These unattractive people with unattractive souls are saying this really stupid, unattractive stuff, and it's the first time in a long time they're getting attention. It's like a reverse MGTOW. And any attention is good attention. So now everybody's cheering about how they don't need no man, because every time they do that, 50 guys just start shitting on them, and they feel like somebody for a brief moment. It's ridiculous.
Well, and I know that MGTOW get really upset when people say this, but there is a definite parallel between the idea that men need to be strong, independent men, right? That we don't need anybody. All we need, for what is it, dogs, dudes, and dolls, right? Yeah, that's all I need, and just a internet connection and Uber Eats, and I'll be fine.
MGTOW is the sassy black woman clap back at everything.
Yeah. And so the feminist side is, we don't need no man. We don't need anything from you, because because women have very successfully, in a very short time too, only in 50 years, have arranged society or restructured society so that the only thing that matters to them is that they don't need a man. They want a man. And who do they want? The hot guy that they can fuck, but they can't control that guy. So we get lists like this.
Awful short list compared to the other one.
Yes, this is I have the responsibility, and now if you're looking at the couple in the illustration here, if that looks like a butch or a more masculinized lesbian on the left and a feminine female on the right, I would say that that's not a coincidence. Because if you follow these rules, you will probably be with a dominant female lesbian, because that's where this is really going. I have the responsibility to respect and not violate the boundaries of others. Right. Okay. Well, how does that gel with all of the want for avoiding the responsibilities in that last, like, here's the thing, like that last, the last one we were just looking at, I have the right to not endure any, or not be subject to any of the liabilities of my choices, but I still have the responsibility and not to respect and not violate the boundaries of others. Really, again, what this is saying is, like, if you're a man, you're not supposed to don't violate my boundaries, and my boundaries are, I want to follow my hypergamous imperative until I can or cannot optimize it. Next one, determine and communicate my own boundaries and values.
Hey, wasn't that the thing you suggested earlier that never happens? Hey, if you don't like it, say no.
Say no. Yeah. Yeah, so to determine and communicate my own boundaries. So if okay, great. Since this is supposed to to apply to men, here's my my determination and my boundaries is that I will not date you if you wear certain things. I will not date you if you spend more time with your friends than you do with me. I will not date you. I will not have a relationship with you if you know. Oh gosh, let's go look at these other ones here. I will not date you if you have space away from me. That's one of my boundaries, is that I want to have you included in my life. I want to be needed by you. I will not date you if I have to feel like I have to ask you for affection. I will not date you if you won't say I love you for. Those are my boundaries. These are the boundaries that I want as a guy, right? And how and of course, according to this, I'm supposed to express those boundaries, but again, that's the communication side of all this. The next one is I have the responsibility to look and listen to both verbal and non-verbal communication. Oh man, this was a really good one too. Again, men and women communicate much differently. So what this is it's a plea on the this is sort of like women's hindbrain pleading for men to just get it. And yes, I'm that's already in the great big book of everything. People were asking me to do an episode dedicated to just get it, which is a chapter out of my first book. This is a kind of a, I don't know, indirect plea for men to just get it. Understand read my mind is basically what this is. You need to pick up on my verbal and my nonverbal communication. So my nonverbal communication is I've got my back to you, or my nonverbal communication is, me being away from you. Again, the medium is the message, is really nonverbal communication.
Well, that's the one thing. The one thing I can say positive about this is I kind of understand. If you think about it, 100 years ago, a guy had a solid factory job. That was an easy social signal to a guy that's worth being with. Nowadays, like, everything is so safe and bubble wrapped, and you can't tell if he's an Instagram influencer or an actual rich person. Like, everything is so diluted in falsehoods that using this as a litmus test, are you the kind of guy who understands women enough to ignore all of this stupid reframing? It's really one of the few ways women have left to understand, like, is this guy messing with me, or does he actually know women? Now, I know we frame it as, like, do they just get it? And I'm going to ramble here a bit. So Venkatesh Rao, the Gervais principle, I'm sure you've seen it. Everybody's seen it, where they separate people into sociopaths, losers, and the clueless. In this case, I put MRAs as the clueless ones. They will take this at face value, and then they'll argue terms. Well, let's remove 0.6 and add point, and all that crap. The battle's already lost because you've accepted the framing of it. MGTOWs are the losers, and they're just like, I don't want any of this stuff. I don't know how to deal with this. Like, they know it's a game, but they don't know how to play it. And I would argue Red Pill is the sociopaths in there, that they understand that this is a fiction, this is a game, and that if you play it well enough, you'll be just fine. Like, as much as we say there's Mattress Dude, there's all these dudes getting the Me Too accusations, that's every single one of these accusations has been documented in the last 10 years. And there's maybe 30 in a culture of about 1 billion people. So it's statistically meaningless to assume that this stuff will ever apply to you. Now, it may be worse than I'm playing it off here, but that's the point. The way it's framed is this is not some monolithic entity trying to keep your dick in your pants. This is just girls talking. And, like, remember in the cab, like the old pickup thing, when she says, yeah, you know, we're not going to sleep together, right? And the only thing you know for sure is she just thought about sleeping with you and had to say something. So I kind of lump this with that, which may be an overly optimistic take, but I don't know. It just seems to jive.
Well, like I said before, the very premise of this, first of all, it's in a gynocentric power base. It starts with presuming that gynocentrism, that women's mating strategy, is the correct way. I've written probably 4 or 5 different articles about the feminine correct society, and what that means is from the time we're 5 years old, we're taught by our female teachers that to do things the female way, to think as females do, to act. That's why we say that, little boys are raised as defective girls. Right. Well, they become defective because those little boys can't aspire to be more perfected or more perfect because they're not girls. So they have to struggle with acting like a girl, because in that world, in a gynocentric world, that's the correct way to think, to emote, to behave. And the way that Johnny does it is bad, because he's got testosterone in him, or he's acting out like a little boy,
aggressively pouring red wine.
Yeah. Daniel here says, Rollo, your thoughts on Tate's latest video on his channel arguing against the red pill view of BPD? I've talked about, if you want any kind of clarification on that, I've actually talked to Tate, and I think it was in my last video with him about BPD.
We had it on a Rule Zero too.
We just talked about it yesterday, as a matter of fact, about BPD. Corey has the same sort of opinion that BPD is not a real thing, and I would say that I do believe that BPD is a real thing, but I think that it is overblown in the manosphere, because it's kind of like Asperger's syndrome for guys. It's like if somebody is just basically a social, socially unintelligent. I'm not going to say the R word. Is just not, doesn't get it, is not socially adept. We say that guy's autistic, or we say that guy's got Asperger's syndrome. Does he really have Asperger's syndrome? Probably not. He's just awkward. He just never learned to socialize. Maybe he's a little bit on the spectrum, whatever. But the first thing we say is, oh, that guy's got Asperger's syndrome. When the woman acts out like she does, or she behaves like what we would expect most women to behave, we go and say, well, she's got to be borderline personality disorder. No, it's just that in a gynocentric social order, we put up with that kind of behavior. That is the exact same kind of behavior as borderline personality disorder. Here's this guy who is, what we call him a spurg. He's acting like an idiot, and he seems like he's autistic. Does he really have autism? No, but I'm going to prescribe him with that, because that's the way I would expect those people to, a guy like that to act. So I think BPD is a real thing. It is a clinical diagnosis, but I think it's a whole lot more rare than the manosphere will ever really acknowledge.
Well, officially it's 3% of the population. That's the third standard deviation, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. And is there anything such as lesbian hypergamy? Yes, there is. You will notice that in most homosexual relationships, there is a power dynamic in those as well. In fact, we could see one right here on this little in this thing right here. If we look at this chick right here, I know you guys can see my mouse. This is the more masculine one, and even in homosexual relationships, there's always a dominant and a submissive in there. There's always I saw that one commercial on the Super Bowl, and it had Ellen DeGeneres and her wife. So who's the masculine and who's the feminine in that? So
did she dance in that commercial? I never watched any of that.
I don't know. I think I tuned out, but I did see that one part where she's like acting like she's the husband, saying, "Come on, honey, we're going to be late." Like she's the one, and she's driving the car, of course. And the other more feminine lesbians there kind of, doting over her and acting not unlike the characteristics of a passive, submissive, appreciative, tradcon wife. Right here she is. She's doing it for a woman. Yes. Go, Daniel. I've got a very early post. It's called Sexual Fluidity. I am still not entirely convinced that homosexuality has a biological basis. I think it's much more behavioral than anything else, as we can see in cases of quote unquote sexual fluidity. There's a lot. If you go and you read what is it? A Billion Wicked Thoughts. There's a lot of research in that book about how women get turned on by pretty much anything, by homosexual acts, by heterosexual acts, by even monkeys having sex. So does that negate hypergamy? No, it's just that means that it's expressed differently. And then I think I got one more in here that I didn't get to.
There we go. Damn it. Somebody had to clean up the chat, so I promised I wouldn't go in there, but now here I am.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So far, nobody's asking for a debate, so maybe it's not so bad.
We're drowning in bots invading this channel. I know, dude. I'm sorry. The one time Sam's not here is when I get like spammed with bots. Ryan's
anybody who had it, I've just removed them from channel. You
Conk
guys shouldn't
out
see
there.
them.
Conk could help me. Thanks, brother. Yeah, I know. I see him. Sorry. This is a one-man show. Have you guys seen a post by Whisper saying feminism is just female tactics? Did you see that?
Yeah, of course I did. I kind of agree with it too.
What was that about?
Well, it's talking, everybody thinks of feminism as this ideology and you got to counter it with ideology, but it's not. Think of it this way. You have sex positive feminists and then sex negative feminists. Like everything that feminism believes, there's always an antithesis that's also feminism. And so everybody plays this like, oh, there's no true Scotsman this, no true Scotsman that. Instead of looking at it like a framework of ideas and ideology, you just look at it as tactics. Essentially a societal-wide shit test that men have failed for 50 years. Because that's the one truism about every type of feminism. It's essentially nagging at men in power until they give them certain things that they want or remove restrictions on things that they already have. And so once you start looking at it as a tactic, it starts to make way more sense. And you won't be able to fill up YouTube channels complaining about feminism's hypocrisy. Once you realize it's not hypocrisy, the lesson is give me this. I want it.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this before when we were talking about believers versus empiricists. When I wrote that, I'm going to put that one in the fourth book. I've decided that I want to use that in a section there. But when it comes to the believers communicating with guys who are more empirically minded, one of the tactics, I guess, that believers do is they try to turn whatever it is that you believe in or what you espouse as being like the dots you connect as being true, that challenges or offends their religious belief or their life belief or their worldview or whatever. The first thing they do is try to turn whatever it is that you're saying into a belief. And I've seen this in the red pill. I know, you know who I'm talking about. They'll say, well, the red pill is not really a praxeology, or it's really an ideology, or feminism is really it's an ideology. And the reason why they do that is because that's the only way they can win the argument.
Yeah, because by dragging you down to their level and then fighting you what they're pro at. Because
then it becomes ideology versus ideology instead of ideology versus here's the dots I connected. Here's the proof. Here's what I'm showing you. Here's the conclusions that I'm coming to with the new data that I have. There's this old order belief understanding that people keep going back to because their ego invested in it for whatever reason. And the only way they can even communicate with a guy who is more empirically minded is by taking what he's saying and then reducing that to their level, bringing it down to an ideology so that they can then pick it apart. Because the debate isn't about whether that data is valid or whatever it is. It's about, is it right or is it wrong? And so now we've changed the argument from here's the data versus, well, it's evil. It's evil for you to think those things. Well, that's
now it becomes like a moral high ground. Who's the moral arbiter here? And whoever wins, the other person's evil and needs to go away and die somewhere. It's like, screw you, lady. I'm not playing your stupid game.
Nick says, when I move in with a girl, it fizzles out. Why? Because you moved in with her?
Yeah, comfortable.
Really a simple for your $2 super chat, because you moved in where she got comfortable and you got comfortable and there is no competition anxiety. Go read Iron Rule of TOMASSI #4, which is the shacking up essay. It is never move in with a woman that you don't plan to marry within the next 6 months. However that works with you, because once you move in with that person and you put your name on that lease with her, she's assuming that you are going to be exclusive with her, and now the competition anxiety is gone, the urgency is gone, sexual tension is gone, and now you go from having hot monkey sex, urgent monkey sex because she's afraid that she's going to lose you to some other chick, to it's no longer Netflix and chill, it's Netflix and let's actually watch Netflix.
Yeah, there's actual Netflix and Netflix and chill.
Yeah, there is. There's actual movies on here.
Yeah, and that's the funny part when you talk a lot about how, like, I don't game my wife, I am the game. I don't think people understand that that's specifically what you're referring to. That familial comfort and how you navigate that.
They all think I'm popping off. Oh yeah, you're the game. Sure you are.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that the language doesn't really give you a way to do that without sounding smug and condescending.
So that's why I go with it.
yeah, you might as well own it.
All right, I'll be the dick. That's what you want.
There's a super chat from a guy, Omar Tabara. I guess we haven't gotten to that one yet. Do you have it in your list, or?
I don't know. If I passed you up, it's because I don't have Sam with me today. Omar, put it in the chat if you want to. I'm trying to hit these as I go a little bit here. I want to get back to what we're doing here, but it says advice on this is hit on head. Advice to a 20-year-old that never got laid to get some, I guess, pussy. The best way and advice to a not so good looking dude: keep doing what you're doing.
Get attractive and stop being unattractive.
Get better looking. Go to the gym. Do the best with what you got. Play to your strengths. Understand. Here's, you know what? The best advice I can give you is understand the nature of the game that you are in, and accept it. Don't fight it anymore. Accept it and do. And if your goal is to lose your virginity, if your goal is to actually, try to solve your reproductive problem, like most guys will tell you, well, you shouldn't, don't be a pussy beggar. Don't do all this stuff. Here's the thing. If that's what you like, most guys who have never had sex, that's all they can think about is having sex.
Yep.
So
don't think about an elephant.
Don't think about an elephant, but also it's part of a healthy life. I've another topic I need to cover sometime is how men actually need sex, that it is actually a biological life need for men to have sex. Like every guy, all the men in your family who came before you, they figured it out.
Yeah.
So you should be able to as well. Just getting back to this, I wanted to, and Omar, if you want to hit me with that again, I'll read it for you. I'm sorry if I'm missing some of these, and I'm also missing the spam here. I don't know that I see the spam so much in the StreamYard chat, but getting back to this, it's determine and communicate my own boundaries. Okay, well, what if my boundaries are incompatible with all of the Bill of Rights that I just read? Communicate as clearly as I can and honest as I can, right? Again, this is communication solves everything. It doesn't. Communication means nothing in comparison to what you are communicating. It's not that I'm openly communicating. I'm openly communicating that I don't want to have sex with you anymore. I'm openly communicating that this relationship is over.
Yeah. Ghosting is very clear communication.
Medium is the message, man. That's communication. It's not about what I another quote I have is women claim to want honesty. And here we have it right here. Clearly and honestly. Women do not want full disclosure. They say they want honesty, but they never want full disclosure because it gets down to like all of this stuff that we've read so far, the responsibility thing here, the other one, and the thing I hope I'm going to get to here in a second. All of this stuff is putting everything on the table. It's not playing the game. And I've said this a million times, is that guys will say, well, I'm red pill. Shouldn't I just tell her that I'm red pill and be honest? Or they'll say like, well, Rollo, your wife has to have read your book by now. How is it that she, still plays along with you? And why is it that, how come I can't tell my significant other that I'm red pill? Is because women want to play the game. They don't want to be told that they are playing that game. They want you to just get it, and they don't want to have to tell you. That's why communication solves everything is bullshit, because they don't want it to work that way. They want you to just understand it. They want you to get them, and if she has to tell you that, it gets back to the confirmation bias, but it gets to the observer effect. Observing a process changes that process. So if that woman has to observe the process and tell you, hey, you're not doing X, Y, and Z like an alpha male who I'd want to reproduce with would do, maybe you should change. You change, then it's not for you. It's because you changed because she asked you to do it. Well, if you'll do that, then how about these other lists of demands that I have? Will you do those too? And then by the time you have reshaped your life and your personality and everything for her, she's moved on to the guy who acts the way or is alpha, who just gets it and didn't have to be told that. So if you have to be told to be masculine, if you have to be told all this stuff that she thinks that she has to have in a guy, although
then she's not going to know if it's real.
Yeah, then it's not playing the game. It's talking about the game. It's the observing a process changes that process. Remember that.
Girls may not be smarter than men on average, but they are more experienced. And you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the sun hat goddess phenomenon, where the girl hits 28, hears the trad guy talk about his fantasies and just puts on the sun hat and play acts it. So of course they're going to find it unattractive when a guy's doing that with his list of demands, because it's the exact same tactic they're going to try if they're 32 and still haven't locked down a man. That's why they find it unattractive. Because like I would do that if I was extremely desperate. So of course I don't think you're attractive with it.
Oh, I love this one. I've got the wow. You're the first guy to ever try to get me on this. Oh, Rollo, how do you apply spinning plates in your marriage? You got me. I'm really a blue pill. Yeah. No, sorry.
Does he want me to give like a real answer in this one, or are you just messing with
I don't know. No, but people throw this one at me all the time because they think like, well, if you profess or preach.
Yeah, if you're not the ultimate blue alpha dark triad, then why are you even here? Like, yeah.
You want to know how I spin plates in my marriage? I have other things going on in my life, right? I have, whenever I tell guys about like, spinning plates or keeping that urgency or keeping up like using dread in their relationships or their marriages or whatever, I always try to warn against using overt dread in preference to passive soft dread. And what that means is that's like passive soft dread is you're in a marriage and one of your wife's girlfriends or relatives says, boy, Rollo's looking really hot these days. Or I happen to work in a line of work where I'm around very beautiful women, or have been anyways. Less now than I used to be, but back in the day I was with promo girls all the time that I had to go pick out to be with me on there. That's how I spin plates. Not that I'm going to go bang those girls, but the fact that I'm standing right next to them. And remember this, I mean, this whole show has really been sort of about like one-liners here is women don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could cheat.
Yeah.
So let that one sink in for a little bit.
And don't follow. I sent you a link to an article. You're going to love this. It's actually Wine More Please. He put it on how to fuck your wife's friends. You're going to love it. It's a very short one. And this will answer this guy's question.
Did you put this in the chat or in our private chat?
In the chat. Okay. But it's like 7 lines. I can read it right now.
Okay,
the answer, it's really easy. Don't. I can't believe I have to write this, but if you have to ask for advice on how to do it, do you think you're really going to get good vibes on the situation? And if you get it wrong, do you realize how badly you just screwed yourself over strategically? Which is essentially like, just get it. If you're the kind of guy that has to ask how to spin plates against your wife, you're not ready for that. And that's why there's not a lot of how-to guides on how to pick up a side piece on your wife, because once you know what you're doing and you're in a situation where that actually makes sense strategically, like your wife's, been cheating on you, you don't want to lose the kids legally, you have to, it's easier just to wait out 2 years until the kids turn 18 or whatever. Then yeah, you're automatically going to know how to solve this problem already. If I put a how-to list on a guide or answer this guy's super chat, he's going to go out and screw it up. So no, not giving children dynamite on this one.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Well, guys try to hit me on that. They say, well, you're not spinning plates. Why do you suggest that guys spin plates? Well, because when you are single and you can do that, that's actually the best way to instill dread is to instill. Like when we talk about like the prince, I had a guy telling me in my DMs today how he finally understood what it meant to consider yourself the prince, or to consider yourself as somebody whose time and effort and energy are actually valuable. So when a common woman dates a prince, usually, she appreciates the time that guy is sort of carving out of his life, because he's a very important person. He's a prince. He wants me. There should be that kind of she looks up to you sort of thing. I'll talk about that here in just a second. I want to read the rest of these real fast here. It's like this one was really good. Ask for help and support when I need it. Imagine a guy asking for help and support when he needs it.
Oh boy. Please, ladies, I throw sand right in the vagina. It'll solve the same function.
Yeah. Well, this is really, and I'm going to do, this is in the great big book of everything as well, to do a show about vulnerability. And when you're asking for help and when you're doing these things, it's one thing to do it when your predominant character is being alpha and being in control and being competent and showing that competency on a daily basis. And then saying, you know what, sorry, but I need help. Sorry, but I got sent to the hospital. Sorry, but whatever. That's when being a little bit vulnerable, when your predominant character is alpha and you are an alpha hard, when you're Pat Campbell and you're a hard ass for most of your life, then when you actually seek it out, that's when it becomes endearing. But if you're a beta guy and you're predominantly going, I really need some help, I need this, I need that, and that's your predominant character, is to be like submissive or to be an equal, whatever. And you think, too many guys think that vulnerability is game. That if they show how needy they are and how much they need them, and they think
that's that nurturing instinct,
that's going to get them in there. No, it's not. In fact, it's going to have the opposite effect, because your predominant character is that you're beta and you're needy and clingy, not alpha, in control and competent. So
I'll put it this way: the best plow horse doesn't get the good stable when he retires. He gets sent to the glue factory once he needs the help.
Oh yeah,
so keep that in mind.
I like this one. Be considerate and respect the values of others. Great. What if my value is, I value a woman who is submissive and who bucks trends about egalitarian relationships, and my values are
Islam is right about women.
Islam is right about women, and my values are me being a polygamous male and you being a devoted wife of many, and you not. Those are my values. So you should be considerate of those, right? You should. I value a woman who takes responsibility and understands the liabilities of a relationship. That's my values. Check my actions, decisions to determine if they are in my best interests. This is, again, a fail-safe for women. It's I need to feel good about myself for prioritizing myself. Now, a lot of guys have said this, and so I'll throw this out there, because I talk a lot about mental point of origin. And for the most part, we teach our boys like they're defective girls, but part of that education is in some way sublimating what I think is, for most boys and most young men, to be their mental point of origin is really more like a natural thing to them, to think of themselves first, to put themselves first. And we have to crush that out of generation after generation of young men, because we want them to be more pliable. We want to be them more sedate. We want them to be good equal partners for women when they're done on the cock carousel, to be waiting to be betas in waiting, useful when needed. And so, in order to do that, we have to teach them from the earliest ages not to make themselves their mental point of origin, but to make women their mental point of origin. Now, guys will say this: well, if I say that women are naturally solipsistic, does that mean that they are not thinking of themselves first? Does that mean that women aren't their mental point of origin? And the answer to that is yes, they are. Their mental point of origin is to think of themselves, think of the survivability of themselves and their survivability of their offspring before any other consideration. That's why you, as a man, it feeds into your disposability dynamic. So, sperm is cheap, eggs are expensive, and as part of that, a social extension of that reality is that you're disposable. And so women evolved mental, frameworks, evolved mental firmware to like the alpha widow dynamic. So women are prepared to lose you. They're prepared to lose their children. They're prepared to move on. That's why men, when they commit suicide, women don't follow suit. They generally don't kill themselves after the husband has killed himself. But if the wife kills himself, the man is far more likely to kill himself, because he buys into that, she's the only one for him, soulmate myth, scarcity mentality. We can go on and on down the list there. But when it comes to mental point of origin, women are naturally their own mental point of origin. So when I say men need to, well, first of all, they need to unlearn that bullshit, but they need to make themselves their mental point of origin. Does that mean I'm saying men ought to be solipsistic? No, but they do need to put themselves as the first thing that they think of. That doesn't mean don't think of others. I've said this 100 times about enlightened self-interest.
Just make them earn it.
Yeah, make them earn it. But I think that one of the reasons why women follow that innate proclivity for solipsism is because they're insecure in a very chaotic world. They're the weaker sex. They need men for, historically in our ancestral past, they've needed men for survival, for provisioning, for child support, for parental investment. There was all of these things that men could bring to a monogamous relationship. And as a result of that, women had to sort of sublimate that solipsism in order to raise children, to, keep the protection of that man in her life. Well, they don't need that anymore. That's why when we see women who are more narcissistic, or we have that question, what's the difference between narcissism and solipsism? The reason we even have that question right now is because women don't need men for protection. They don't think they do. They don't need men for protection, and they don't need men for their provisioning anymore, because they're these standalone, self-fulfilling, autonomous things now. So that's just that's something to think about with respect to mental point of origin. And here's the other thing is, yes, men should be a little bit more self-centered. Men should be a little bit more concerned with themselves. Men should be aligning themselves up with enlightened self-interest. And then, of course, translating that into creating a good family, having a good relationship. I got that part settled. But when you say, well, does that mean that women should woman down? They should be more submissive. Yes, they should, because you will have a happier, better relationship if you fall in line with gender norms, if you fall in line with the complementary nature of women, femininity versus masculinity, conventional femininity, conventional masculinity. And this is not a plea for patriarchy or anything. It's just that men and women are different. And part of that difference is that we are complements for one, difference for another. So just keep those in mind. Check my actions, decisions determine their best interest. Take care of myself. Well, geez, wouldn't it be great if women would take care of themselves? What was it? Did you see that article about what is it? The average woman is 5'6" and 170 pounds in the United States right now. Yes,
roly-poly.
Please take care of yourself. Please do that. And do so with the idea of, well, keeping yourself healthy, but also looking good for the guy that you're going to end up being with. Here's my value. One of my values that I'm supposed to express is that I want a chick who still looks good. I want a girl who's fun to fuck.
Well, that's the thing. And that's the problem with it, is averages. Obviously, if you go to a place like New York City, there are going to be people skewed on the thinner side of things. If you go to someplace in Alabama, I don't know any cities in Alabama, you're going to get the ones that are 2 bills plus. Just because there's an average here doesn't mean that 99% of the girls are 170 pounds. It means that the average, the fattest ones are really fat.
Fattest city in the United States is San Antonio, Texas. I looked that up. Yeah, Fat Antonio, that's what they call it. Like when Tristan and Andrew Tate were in Texas, I'm like, don't go to Fat Antonio. You'll have a really bad opinion of what the United States is all about. What is this? Replacing Netflix with Hulu, increase my lays. Yeah, dude. You know what? Go do that and then get back to us and let us know.
All right. I tried to keep up on the super chats, but I missed a few, and I asked the guys to repost them in chat, and they never did. So if we missed them, sorry.
If I missed your chat, then hit me up an email, and I will get back to you on them. History Lover says, will you ever release the best stuff you saved for yourself?
Do you have a fifth book that's on your night shelf, just in manuscript form?
I have a book that has all the best stuff, all of my secret stuff, but I'm not going to release. I'm not going to give anyone permission to publish it until after my death.
Ooh. Look at you going all Michael Jackson and Prince with your material. In a vault somewhere.
I want to do
500 articles.
I should do that. I think that would be funny if I did.
That would be cool. Yeah. But honestly, for the strategy and all this stuff, you're absolutely right. All these numbers, and it's the yellow journalism thing, but it's crowdsourced. Every time you show women are fat now on average. Okay, fine. MGTOWs are see that? I'm not going to hook up with a land whale. I'm out of here. I'm going to go jerk off in my living room. MRAs are you see that? Because men and women are different. They're not diet, whatever. Feminists are you should still want to sleep with me, even though you can't find where to put it. Everybody has their own little narcissistic narrative script. And that's the only thing. Everything gets framed within it, which is ridiculous. You just look at this as a challenge to overcome. Okay, the average woman, 170 pounds, 5'2". Aim for the lower end of that average. Girls that are 150, 140, 130 exist. Let some other guy deal with the ones that are 2.5 bills.
Yeah, it's funny. Maybe I don't know where you work out in Canada, and maybe things are a little bit different there. But in the United States, I have gone to gyms in Los Angeles. I've been a member of gyms in Reno, Nevada. I've been a member of gyms in Las Vegas. I've been a member of gyms in Orlando, Florida. and basically different places around like where I've lived. For the most part, at those gyms, I've always seen more men there, more men that are in shape. And the women that are there are very precious few women who I would really say are really knockout gorgeous, who are like, look like they are fitness girls. Very few. But a lot of guys, like, and this has been my experience, is that a lot of guys get themselves in really good shape, but they're still with a woman who can't really sort of keep up with that guy. And the joke is this, and I've posted this on Twitter. It's like you have the guy who's in peak ideal shape with the 6-pack abs, the V taper, is somewhat cut, has kind of like the swimmer's body muscularity and definition. That is an ideal that is an ideal that takes a lot of dedication and takes a lot of effort for the average guys, particularly if you've got a cubicle job or something like that. Unless you're like a fitness model, that's what you do for a living, or you're like a personal trainer or something like that. Especially if you're a personal trainer and you're not in shape, you got no fucking excuse.
You better hope you're on a wrestling team and in your 50s.
Yeah. But to get into an ideal form, to get into shape, to reach the ideal form of masculine beauty that women have for men is much more difficult than it is for what is acceptable for a man's to turn a man on for like let's just say a good looking woman who's like within a weight tolerance per her height. For men to get into that ideal state, to become like somebody that a woman would like actually have genuine desire for and feel some lust for a guy to be in that. Yeah, for a guy, it takes way more effort than it does for women to do that. And so, I have to go to the gym to look like He-Man, but she does, as long as she doesn't eat like a pig, and
it's funny because there's kind of a biological aspect to that too. So I don't know how well like the mechanisms the body uses to process fat. Testosterone actually is a huge driver of that. I can't remember what the process is called right now, and I'm sure there's some Joe Rogan podcast where the guy explains it. But since women have so much less testosterone, they're missing one of the two mechanisms that we have for fat loss. And so women, that's why women can be vegans and not look as unhealthy as men. Because we just, without the saturated fat that helps our free-floating testosterone bind to our body, we're just screwed. So that's why vegan men are emaciated, and that women can literally starve themselves and then look hot. So it's kind of one of those neat little things. I don't know how to really put that within a sexual strategy thing. You could either say it makes it harder because women can work out and they don't get as much benefit from it. But you could also say in that it's easier, in that women can make much stupider dietary choices and still come off better.
Yeah,
I kind of lean to that side though.
There's and then I another thing I need to do is sometimes a full show on ideals of beauty or standards of beauty, and how women's standard of beauty is much higher, much more stringent, much more static than men's ideal for beauty. Like what's fuckable,
and that shouldn't even be controversial. Like, have you seen a female peacock?
But exactly,
man. But male peacocks are just gorgeous.
Do it. And again, men display, women choose, females choose. I hate it when women say, well, we should ban porn because we can't keep up with that, or we can't compete with that, or it's this. And you've heard this a million times, and this is old order thinking, ladies. Is that men have an unrealistic standard of beauty, or it is a social construct that men have been taught that they should only get off on blonde hair, blue eye, big tits, and a nice little perfect, peach ass. Like that.
Like, what do they think porn is? Have you watched porn lately? I mean, obviously none of us have watched porn. We don't drink, we don't watch porn. We're just bastions of masculinity. But like, it's not guys in there choking girls with ball gags. You can find that if you want to, but most porn is just taboo crap. Like, my stepsister looked hot and I stuck into her bedroom at 7 or crap like that. Or what was the one that, who was that politician? Ted Cruz. What was the one that he got caught with? He retweeted onto his private account. You don't remember this?
No, I don't. But like, if you go and you look at the different variety, man, one of the most radical data collections of, our capacity to collect data in the last, like, say, 30 years.
Man.
Pornhub, man, it has changed.
And you saw those top categories. It was like girlfriend porn, guys literally looking up my girlfriend, and then like they'll give you back some little thing. There's that anon one. You know the Anon like femme cell, the one where it looks like a traditional girl, but they have the Wojak face. There's a girl that does a porn, and that's her theme, is to be like the female trad Wojak.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So no like BBC on that one. No, it's all just like lesbian stuff or toys. I actually did research on this, which is kind of embarrassing to admit, but whatever. But it's literally like all the tropes you remember seeing, like the incels talk about what kind they want in a women. She's filling all of them up. And that's the kind of stuff that's skyrocketing. So when women are talking about, I can't keep up with unrealistic porn expectations, like I watched The Girl Made a Sandwich. That was one of her porn videos.
Yeah.
Or so I don't think.
Well, I mean, that's just it. I said, and I another one of my very old posts was about women's beauty standards. Their ideal, a masculine ideal, has always been that athletic, Greco-Roman, look, abs and everything else. For women, there was the Rubenesque period. There was, like women will do this all the time, is they'll go back and they'll like collect pictures of women from like Jane Mansfield or Marilyn Monroe, or like, well, look, she wasn't in this crazy, she didn't have big balloon boobs,
Yeah, during the Depression, when being able to eat was an attractive quality. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and because our mating strategy is scattershot, because we are opportunistic breeders. If the woman is ready to go, guys are usually ready to go. That's just the saying. And people say, well, aren't women supposed to be opportunistic? And they are. Women's for their strategy, they are. I mean, both men.
Yeah, but that's not desire. That's different concepts you're talking about.
Yeah, that's desire and love. But so when I look at, when I see porn, or I see like the stats for it, you look at like, there's midget porn, there's like pale girl porn, there's skinny girl porn, there's fat girl porn, there's blondes, blue eyes, you name it. There's a niche of porn that a guy gets off on. So don't give me this bullshit about like, well, I can't measure up to that standard of beauty. What standard of beauty, man? You just find
cosplayers have literally shown you how easy it is.
Yeah. What standard of beauty? There's nothing. Sweet Pete says, how high should your notch count be before considering LTRs? Is your age a better factor? Yes, your age is a far better factor, but you need to have some experience, I would say. I always say that you don't consider monogamy until you're at least 30 years old. The old joke is men don't become men until they're 30. But also because you will be in a better position to be sexually selective at that point, because you will have, hopefully, if you've done the best with your potential, you'll have more of the things about you. You have built more value in yourself that will make you somebody who can actually have a choice as to who you can actually do the vetting instead of being vet yourself. I love
the Royce angle on that one. Do you remember his post where you need to have 12 women?
Yeah,
I think it's about 20 though, and we kind of get there for the same reason. It's not so much you have to hit a magical number. Yeah. It's just about you get an average sampling of the population. 20 girls means you'll hit a 5% rarity, which is usually like if you're going to breed an actual BPD girl or an actual crazy person or an actual anything that's an outlier, 20 people is usually a big enough sample size to get one of them. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why I put 20 as the thing. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. You meet a crazy guy, you're a crazy girl, your second time, whatever. But it's so that when you see the exception, the girl who's not batshit crazy in the ways that really matter to guys, you're actually able to recognize it. And you're also able to recognize where, she's wearing the sundress and the summer hat, but she reminds me of that girl that tried to stab me last week. So I'm out. I think that's the purpose of it.
It's like, I think a lot of guys will throw rocks at me because they think that, ROLLO's just advocating that you go fuck willy-nilly whoever, and just like
strategically.
That PUA guy out there just thinks that you like the men's or even Roosh throws rocks at me about this. Like he says you should just go out and fornicate with whoever and whenever. And I'm like, no, but you do need to have experience. You do need to get it out of your system, right? You do need to understand what it is that you do and you don't want. That's a process of making mistakes and making good choices as well. So and that requires experience. So if you're one of these rare guys who met your girlfriend at church camp and she's the only girl you've ever had sex with, or she's your high school sweetheart, and you want to tell me how you know women's nature, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be a little incredulous about that. I'm going to be the guy who's going to tell you
But Rollo,
No,
I
you
won the
don't.
lottery, so trust me, just put your money into lottery tickets and you will retire just like I did.
Exactly. I got a few more here, but I do want to throw this one up here really quick, or I'm going to be remiss in my duties here. Where is that? Share my application window. And there we go.
The wheel.
This is the wheel o' doom.
Break the deal, face the wheel.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure I threw this on here just so we had it, because this was the last thing that was in that Griffith University thing. Equality in dating relationships. It's always about equality, right? That right there should be your dead giveaway. This is supposed to be egalitarian. This is the egalitarian ideal, is that we're going to have an equal partnership. And just, I'm again going back to the one-liners. If you take anything away from this, remember this, is that equality doesn't work in relationships. We did not evolve to be equals. We evolved to be complements of one another, but we did not evolve to be equals. A woman doesn't want to be your equal. If a man is a woman's equal, that woman can never look up to that man. She can, I mean, quite literally cannot look up to that guy, because he is, like, when we talk about, what was it? Last Monday, I was on with Rich Cooper and Dr. Sean Smith, and we talked about that study about how when women get a rise in pay, or they get a promotion to like being a CEO, or they like suddenly go from like making an equal amount of money with their husband to making a whole lot more, that increases the incidence of divorce. That they conveniently didn't ask, well, who initiates that divorce? But
where is it? I got a video on that one. Bruno was arguing about that.
The facts are the facts, is that equality does not work in relationships. There's no such thing as an equal partnership, because if you think that you have an equal partnership with that woman, I will guarantee, show me a relationship where you think you have an equal partnership, and I will show you a relationship where that woman runs that relationship, because she always has the pussy. She will always have it's always her body, her choice. And there's nothing equal about that whatsoever. So women literally don't want that. They want a man to be dominant. They want him to be confident. They want him to be competent. And
I do want to add to this too, Rollo, because it's very important. Bruno, if you can remember that tard, he had a thing out where he was saying, if girls are earning more money than you, you need to hide and stash money because the end time is near. And I hate that, because it relegates man to being the provider, the plow horse. A lot of guys take that as like a death sentence, like the standard MGTOW. Well, I'm not going to get with women because they're going to earn more money because they got free college and I didn't, whatever. They keep thinking of like money being the only thing that establishes dominance in a relationship. And you don't need that. Just ask any woman. She knows she doesn't have to be in control corporately to spend the money because they have all the discretionary power. Guys are refusing to acknowledge then, okay, she can earn more money, but, and this is back to the luxury good versus the commodity good. If she doesn't need you for a paycheck, well, then what does she want you for? And nobody seems to address that. Like, okay, so she's earning more money, which frees up your time. If you want to be a great dad, a high earning wife is a good way to have that. But being the guy that she gets to brag about to her friends at cocktail parties, being that genuine desire, that pinnacle of the stuff you're talking about, that stuff there is what truly matters when finances aren't an issue. The only people who lose out in women that are earning more than men are the kind of men who only have money to offer.
Yeah. Well, and yet we still have article after article written about how women are frustrated because they cannot find a guy who is economically attractive.
Yeah, they're just bullshitting. I don't think they believe that for a second. I think they're just like this stupid list and the wheel of relationships here. They want a man who ignores the fuck out of this stuff and knows they just want a hot dude they can brag about to their friends during appies on Tuesday afternoons.
Because at the end of the day, according to feminism, they want a man, but they don't need a man. Yeah. So why? Take them at their word then.
Screw it.
Yeah. So if that's the case, and I would present this to MGTOWs just as much as I would feminists. If that's the case, why ever get together? And MGTOWs will go, yeah, why ever get together? Women, on the other hand, is like, well, we don't need men, but we want men. So we just basically, because women need alpha fucks and beta bucks, it's, because the mating strategies are different. The woman only wants that guy for the alpha fuck side of hypergamy, because the beta buck side is already taken care of. So all of these great things right here, such as What do we got here? This is what it says: is a strong dating relationship is based on equality and respect. No, it's based on you being a dominant man and being a competent man that she can look up to is what it's really based on.
Yeah. How do you respectfully choke somebody in the bedroom? Like, really?
If you have an equal relationship, that woman will never respect you. Okay. Respect is something that is, because remember, and oh man, I'm glad I read that. Remember, respect is different for men as it is for women. Okay. For women, respect is something that is a default. We're supposed to just have respect for a woman for no other reason than she has a vagina. Okay. Because she is a woman. Women are, men must become. So when we look at respect for men, it is about men becoming respectable. You have to do something. It is your burden of performance, your whatever of a performance. You have a burden of performance that you have to match up to so that you can prove, well, first of all, you're dominant, it's your at the top of the dominance hierarchy as best that you can be, but also that you are competent in a great many things. So that's what makes a man respectable. So if a woman just is, and she gets respect no matter what, and then a man has to earn respect and has to merit that respect, how can there ever be any kind of equality between the two of them if there's no mutual, definition of respect for the two of them?
Oh, hey, Sam's back.
Oh, good. Thank you, Sam. Gosh. And he's like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay. And this is think about
100% agree.
Think about how you can treat and want to be treated by someone you care about. Okay, great. But the problem is women have a different concept than men do in that respect. So here's a open communication, another repetition of the Oprah open communication bullshit. Okay, being able to express feelings. What is, again, if you look at every one of these little articles on this, wheel of equality, every single one of these, it corresponds to a gynocentric, a power dynamic. So being able to express your feelings, well, that's what women do. They express feelings. They're more emotional. They're more emotive. Their process is different. I mean, and literally it's a physical part of women's brains that they process emotions differently than men. So if a man says, well, I want to be able to express my feelings and my opinions. Yeah, you're not having sex with me. How come you won't have sex with me? I'm expressing my feelings to you.
Oh, and anger is an emotion too. So they don't seem to like those expressions.
Well, that's not okay. Knowing it's okay to disagree, saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Okay, that's funny because those are right there. You just God. Okay, here's the female way of communication: being able to express feelings and opinions and knowing it's okay to disagree. That's the women's side. Men's knowing that say what you mean and mean what you say. They don't realize that they've just explained men and women's incompatibility in communication styles, but they went and put that in there anyway. There it is. Intimacy, respecting your partner's boundaries. Basically, don't put it in her ass on the first date. That's pretty much what that relates to.
You can't tell me what to do, Dad.
I told you guys it was going to be a hot kitchen here. Respecting each other's privacy, not pressuring your partner, and not pressuring your partner, being faithful. Interesting. What if my values are that I want to have an open relationship and we're going to be polyamorous? Exactly. Honesty and responsibility. Okay, none of these are like bad things in and of themselves, but it's the context within, that they're being presented here. They're being presented as these are the keys to having a good egalitarian relationship. This without acknowledging that there are biological evolved differences that men and women prefer in their partners, right? Men, by and large, want a woman who's going to be more feminine, more submissive. Women want a guy who's going to be confident and competent and be more dominant because that is an association, like you were saying before, on their ego. So their ego is invested in the kind of guy that they can get to be part of their lives.
Yeah, it's just so many mouth words. Say nothing that I even care about. That's the funniest part.
I just wanted to show that last thing there. We're already running over, but that's fine. Yeah, so I'm not saying that a lot of this stuff isn't something that could be good. It's just the context in which it is being presented is bad. It is one-sided. So
that's the thing. Any normal, functioning, healthy man knows, not to sexually assault girls. That's not something you need to tell a guy to do. You don't need to tell a guy not to coerce a girl into bed. Most guys are pretty good with that. And the ones that aren't, there's a pretty good legal system that deals with it. So long as the girl goes to the police, before she goes to the media. Just saying.
The presumption of this manifesto is that guys will act in their worst interests. It's the presumption that all guys are potential rapists. So you need this book, and to write, this is the, like I said, this is the employee handbook. This is the relationship employee handbook. And you need to sign this, that you acknowledged and read it before we can hire you, kind of thing. And what you're doing is you're signing on to a list of demands that were written from a female-centric perspective that don't have your best interests in mind.
Yeah, here's a cudgel. Please don't hit me with it. And they're like, well, if we want to, we at least know we can now. It's ridiculous.
Joe said, if women don't ovulate when they're on birth control, how does this relate to them?
Good.
Depends on the type of birth control, actually. But
I actually like us arguing about this one because I think we disagree on this point.
Do we? How does this relate to them wanting an alpha male at times? Okay, so what this is does birth control? Yeah, does this mess with their hypergamy? Does this mess with their ovulatory shift? Does this mess with ovulatory shift? Now, I'm going to give you the answer that I know from Marty Hazelton, which is it does affect their ovulatory cycle, obviously, because it what it does is it I think it depresses luteinizing hormone. But again, there's two different kinds of birth control, and one of them will depress luteinizing hormone, which it won't remove the cycle of women wanting like the alpha male in their proliferative phase, and then wanting more comfort in their, basically they follow
that's not the one that fakes pregnancies.
No, they follow the same cycle. It's just that it is it's de-intensified, disintensified. Is that a word? Disintensified. Whereas if they weren't on it, it would be much more intensified. So what it does is has a sedation or has a repressive quality to that. That's as far as I know about it. So I know, what were you going to say about it?
Well, I don't like the estrous cycle. They want more alpha in their peak, and then they want more beta in the other one. I don't agree with that, and I wish I could remember who I'm referencing on this one, but I can't. The idea of like they'll always want the alpha guy, but their reasoning's changed. I'm probably stealing it from David Buss here because I think he switched on the issue here, where they may feel that genuine desire and they just have that visceral urge to jump Chad during the 2 weeks in the ovulatory phase, but they just switch over to a more, I guess, deliberate strategy. I think you even said that before where, this is a hot dude. I don't want to lose him. Even though I'm on my period right now, I'll just blow him in the parking lot instead.
Right.
So I don't think it's so much that their interests change and their desires, their feelings change, and so their motives change. But I don't think that means that Billy Beta Blue Pilled Bob has got a better chance, like, on the 30th of the month, if you know what I mean.
Right. So in that respect, I think that's a little bit different from what he was talking about. When I have talked, and I talked about this last Monday with Dr. Smith, is just because women are hypergamous, just because women go through ovulatory shift, let's just say for sake of argument that, we can decide, like, the theory is correct, right? Women go through ovulatory shift. They want the alpha in the alpha phase, proliferative phase, before ovulation, because they want sexy sons, right? They want the best genetic specimen they can get. And then when they get into their down cycle, when they go into the luteal phase, that's when they look for more feminine guys. They're looking for comfort. There's actually sort of a mini nesting period because a woman's body believes that it might have been pregnant. And so therefore it wants comfort. It wants security. It wants girlfriends. It wants feminine guys to come and provide for her. And then when the body flushes out all of that, and knowing that it's not pregnant, it flushes that out. She goes into PMS and she gets bitchy, and the bitchiness pushes people away so that she can then repeat the cycle, go find the alpha, fuck the alpha, hopefully get impregnated, and then start the cycle all over again. Yeah, that's one way of looking at this. So let's just say, for sake of argument, that's true. Well, I can tell you from personal experience. When I was in my rock star 20s, I've nailed more than my share of, club girls. And on a few occasions, some of those girls wanted to have sex with me so bad that they were willing to, and I knew that they were on, don't ask me how, but I did know, I had confirmation that they were on their period at that point, or they were.
Nobody shows up to a Whitesnake concert without white jeans. What the hell?
Put it this way, it was Shark Week. Okay. And they still wanted to have sex. So according to ovulatory shift, that shouldn't make any sense. Like, I met them that night. They were on the rag, but they still wanted to have hot monkey sex with me as much as I could. So here's my Rollo Tomassi theory is that hypergamy cannot afford to miss out on high value sexual opportunities. So if she is in her luteal phase, she will still be hot and ready to go, but it's for a different reason. It's not that her
it's
body
more pragmatic and less
more
instinctual.
pragmatic. Exactly. It's like, okay, I gotta fuck this guy because
maybe we don't disagree then.
well, it means this is that here's what the body says about, or the hypergamy says, the hindbrain says, this guy is so high value, I really need to fuck him and make him feel good and have some hot monkey sex with him, because when I finally do come back around to my proliferative phase, I want him to be there and available because he's the guy that I want to breed with. And so it's you're right. It's pragmatism. So that, and you should feel flattered, by the way, if a woman, you get a same night lay and the girl is on the rag, it means that she sees you as a pretty high value guy to want to go through that, or she wants to put you on ice and keep you around so that when she comes back around to her proliferative phase, that she wants to have you available as the hot monkey sex that she's going to prove herself on. Also this, and what also sort of coincides with this is they've done studies, and I don't have the link, so you're just going to have to believe me here. They've done studies on why women fake orgasms for men. And of course, beta males love this one because they say, well, women tend to fake orgasms more for more alpha Chad type guys. And so what happens is, so beta males think, you guys don't know how to please a woman. Nice guys finish last because she comes first. Oh. That kind of bullshit. Okay. They love that. And the reason for that, the reason why women fake orgasms for alpha men is mate retention. So they fake the guy and say, oh, you were so good. You say, I'm so satisfied. Thank you for doing that. Like most alpha guys.
To his ego.
Appeal to his ego, but also most alpha guys don't care whether she got off or she didn't, because he has more sexual opportunities than the guy who doesn't. So she's more willing to fake an orgasm for an alpha male guy because maybe she's in Shark Week, right? Maybe there's that pragmatic side that says, I need to lock this guy down because he's so high value that I need to keep him around so that when I finally get back to my my ovulatory state or my proliferative phase, that I got him around so that I can have sexy sons with this guy because he believes that he got me off when I was in Shark Week. So
I'm going to word this something. I hope it's blowing your mind, but doing something explicitly for the pleasure of a man. That exact same reason that beta males get shit on for saying you should make a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys want to die on that hill as the pro, then you go fill your boots on it.
So this also reinforces what I say about hypergamy not being a straitjacket. Another part of what Marty Hazelton has studied is that if women are in what they call, self-reporting, but what they call a satisfying relationship with a guy, when they are in their proliferative phase, they are more sexually what's called proceptive. They want to get off. They want to fuck their boyfriends. They wear the dress, and they wear the red dress and the hoop earrings, not because they want to go on girls' night out, but because their boyfriend is the guy who's going to get it. And they are more sexually proceptive to that guy if they're in what women determine as a satisfying relationship. If they are not, that is when women will look outside that relationship for the girls' night out or whatever else. So if you are, and again, like MGTOWs will always say, well, you can't out alpha the state, or how do I know that, you can't keep this up. This is an act. Even if you're the most alpha dude in the world, there's always some guy who's better than you. And the fact of the matter is hypergamy is not a straitjacket. Women,
she won't see him as hotter than you anyway. That's the whole point.
I don't know if you know this, Ryan, but some women are 3s and some women are 8s, and some women are fat and some women are really thin and hot and sexy, right? And guess what? All those women in between, they have different ways of optimizing hypergamy. Right. Sometimes they might stay with a guy that they really want to get with because he answers the most important question to a woman. Is he the best I can do? Wow. That's
the thing. She has a hardwire. Not like most people don't like to be wrong. So she will ego invest in that too. So not only will you be the hottest guy, but she will embellish that in her head. You're hotter than that guy, even though he's probably objectively hotter, because she is invested in her own emotions. Yep. It's the exact same process when guys say the worst thing you can do to a girl is invalidate what she's feeling. That's the same thing. That's why you're her best option. You're the hottest guy at that time. Now, if she no longer feels it, then obviously she's going to go off. But while she's in there, Alpha Chad will walk by and she won't feel nothing.
So that's anybody who hasn't seen it yet. I did a full episode. It's called the hypergamy episode. Go watch that. I go through all of it.
You have a hypergamy episode?
Imagine that. God, man, I'm out of coffee now too. Man, have you ever tried bulletproof coffee with the MCT oil in it? Huh?
I use the CBD oil when I do, but I make it at home all the time.
MCT
do you use it with butter or with butter. Coconut?
With the butter.
Way better with the butter, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. It's the only time I don't really have like real butter, but I did with this because it's supposed to deliver. I would not mind being an affiliate for Bulletproof Coffee. I think it works great. I like it. So,
well, yeah, the fat surrounds the caffeine and it's slower release. So it makes it more like tea, tastes better. So if you have lactose intolerance, you can basically have cream in your coffee. It has the same taste and it won't get sick. It's great.
It's not bad. So Bulletproof Coffee, if you're watching here.
I should do a cooking video on that.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there already. It's funny how like soccer moms really like this stuff right now. Coconut oil. Coconut oil is anal sex. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
I like it.
Okay, there's three more I missed here. Suleiman Ibrahim says, wondering what your thoughts are on penis enlargement. There's no way you can possibly do unless you search. I don't think you can actually do penis enlargement. I think it's largely a myth unless you actually have surgically attach more penis to your penis. I think that's probably the only way you could do something.
Which I can't picture that tissue not being rejected anyway. No, the most I've seen is the guys who have like permanent erectile dysfunction from damage. There's like a inflatable like rod you can shove in there. So basically like a placebo, like remember the shoes you used to be able to pump? It's like that, but for your dick.
God damn it, you guys, man. You're lowering the bar here. You're lowering the bar on my show.
Yeah, we're trying to be academics here, god damn it.
Yeah.
Get your finger play up and quit complaining.
You remember that. I don't think you remember this. Like back in the 70s, there was this rumor that Gene Simmons had like surgically altered his tongue so his tongue was longer.
Oh yeah, that rumor's been floating around for forever.
He had the rumor was that he had added part of a cow's tongue to his tongue. That's the same thing as penis enlargement. You can do the same thing in your tongue.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if it actually worked the way they said it worked, guarantee it'd be regulated to shit and the government would be taxing the fuck out of it.
Oh man,
look what they've already done with the little blue pill. That stuff works and they're all over it.
Yep. Garrow, $5. Thanks, man. It says hot take: men don't drive or set beauty standards in the media, i.e. fashion, beauty standards are all set by gays in the media. Yeah. Let's get to the part where you talk about how it's also Jews, right? I mean, but I understand what you're saying though. Like a lot of people will say, well, it's like when we see these runway guys and they're like wearing they look like women basically, that it's just homosexuals who are deciding, okay, maybe in like, I know because my daughter has done like runway modeling and stuff before. Yes, you're right. There's a lot of homosexuals in there. Got it. But you
cannot believe they like creative fashion endeavors.
You and me and everybody, nobody wears this shit. Nobody does it. All it is just like, it's like supposed to be like fine art, I guess. Oh, look at
it's like concept cars. You know, they're not meant to drive this fashion stuff. And I don't know why I know as much as I do. But it's not meant to actually be people are going to wear this stuff. Somebody will see it and go, oh, I see what he did there. And there's some intuitive knowledge about why you would put like a yoke on the back of a jacket or why a shoulder pad is there. And then they'll take that and they'll turn it down to like a 2 out of 10. And that's what adopts the next year's fashion. So it's really just crazy kooks doing some crazy experiments, seeing if something sticks against the wall when they throw it.
Do you know who Steve Lyons is? I follow him. He's a really high-end fashion photographer. He does like high art kind of photography. Ooh. That dude, like if you see that dude, he is the most masculine dude. He is, I don't think he's married, but like all of his pictures of himself, he's definitely heterosexual.
What's the name again?
His name is Steve Lyons, Lyn or Lyons. Yeah. He's one of my Instagram follows. Really very, very talented. When I was getting my my last photo shoot done, I told my photographer Mitch, I said, I want you to try to aim for this kind of style because I really like the way that he was doing. You'll see what I'm talking about there in a minute. But really good
football Steve Lyons too. Who knew? Or is that the same guy?
Photographer Steve Lyons is my role model for my mature man years, my 55 and older years.
Oh, this dude.
Yes, that dude, good looking dude, still in shape, not like, like overly built or anything, not like super cut, but like still has he looks like a good looking dude. Like he looks like sexy old dude kind of guy. And then he does some really cool shit too. I love that guy. I got a what, not bromance, what is it? A man crush on Steve Lyons.
Dude, his work is good. Like he's really good at framing. He understands how to use the camera. Like he really does.
Very, very good stuff too. He does a lot of mostly fashion photography. He's not like a designer. He's not like the guy that's designing what they're wearing, but he makes
but it's all the creative space, right?
Yeah. Crispy and Philly, thanks for that $10. Hacker Boy, did I get you here? Okay, Hacker Boy, did I get the last one here? It says, I still don't understand. Thanks for the $5, man. I still don't understand why they keep hammering that men should talk about their feelings, and when men do, women don't listen. Yeah. Well, here's why, and this will be the last. I promise we're done after this. The reason why women keep harping on men, talking about their feelings, like a lot of people will say, well, it's a meta shit test. It's just women trying to test whether or not you are, are you going to go against the grain? Do you really get it? Do you need to be told to do these things? And I think that a lot of women want to believe that they would like to be ideally they would like to be in a relationship where a man is more like in touch, he's emotionally available, right? Or he's more.
It sounds good on paper.
It sounds good on paper, but then when you got to live with the guy and wake up next to the guy and you're dealing with his what the problem is most guys are beta and they hear things like this and they go, wow, if a little bit of emotion and emoting is good, a lot must be even better. So if I'm emoting a little bit like this and I'm getting the girl, or women say they're attracted to this, then if I wear my emotions on my sleeve, I'm going to get anal sex from her because that's what women want, right? That's all I got to do is emote more.
Dude, it reminds me of when kids, like, have you ever given a kid rice and they could put their own soy sauce on and they always keep adding it and then they add too much and then they don't want to eat it anymore? That's what I'm thinking of when I hear this, like, guys need to be more vulnerable. I think it's a girl is a 6-year-old adding too much soy sauce to her rice. I don't know why, but that's my image.
I think that a lot of, because it sounds right.
Yeah.
And why is that? Well, because we teach our boys as if they're defective girls. And a part of that education is to try to, in some way, teach boys to emote like girls, because that's correct. It's if Sally wears her emotions on her sleeve and Sally expresses herself emotionally, then Johnny, you should learn to do that too. You should tell us how you feel, Johnny. Johnny doesn't emote like Sally does because Johnny's hardware doesn't work the same way as Sally's does. But we're going to try to teach him to do that until Johnny gets to be Nicholas Cruz and expresses himself emotionally with a shotgun and a handgun. All right. So
I'm not going to lie. I'm hooked on Steve Lyon now that you showed me this stuff.
See, I know my shit. That's what I'm going for my next photo shoot too. Mitch, if you're watching, that's what I want to do again. You got to do it with the long hair this time though.
That'll be good. I have a small enjoyment of watching people try to like dunk on your photos on the various like private spaces and people I don't want to give credit to. But it's absolutely hilarious when you watch a guy who's like 30 years old saying, I'm in better shape than that man. A, he's not. And B, you're like 20 years older than him. So it's like the weirdest flex ever.
I know.
I'm in better shape than a guy who's 21 years older and actually is in better shape than me. It's just such a weird hater thing.
If you guys haven't looked at I know you have, but if you haven't looked at my Instagram, I posted a few pictures of me in the studio when I was recording with this band that I'm playing with right now. And
people were still coming out to play.
People were like, holy shit, he's got guns. He's cut. I'm like, yeah, what am I gonna do? Come in here. Let me go take my shirt off and sit here and flex for you for the whole time. That's not what you come here for. I have gone back to the chin strap again, though. I'm still debating on whether I want it.
I saw that you're going after Rob and the Masculine Geek crew there with this, showing him what's up.
Rob's coming after me, actually. He's been there trying to steal my look for a long time, so I got to move away from it. No, that's the problem. Is like I like doing the chin strap thing. I don't know if I'm going to go for the full like Mennonite thing here, but I might just like, shave it back a little bit just because that's where I'm at. I don't know, man. I've never been a beard guy. I don't think I like the 5 o'clock shadow look, but the older I get, the more like snowy white it gets. And unless I go and get like really, really tan and have that contrast there.
Oh, I get it now. Like this is too long for me because I can already see this giant white patch here and it drives me nuts. So I feel your pain as much as the younger guy can.
I might let it go for a little. I do like it like this because then I'm not like scratching because I'm trying to grow a beard or something. Yeah. If I grow a beard,
problem is all these stupid guys have made beards into this weird like pseudo masculine thing, so it's kind of souring me to the whole idea of them.
If I grew a beard, I would look like Gandalf.
You'd look better than Roosh with a beard. We can admit that much at least.
Well, my hair's getting longer and I'm getting to the point where I can finally tie it back in one long ponytail. And I've been doing a half back, but it's at that frustrating length where it's like I can only get like so much of it like back. So I'm gonna let it go a little bit more and see if I can pull off the Witcher look. So
I was just gonna say go full man bun. Screw it. The nice one right up top with the
I had, it's funny. I had long hair from the time I was 16 until I was 30. And
really?
Like right after my 30th birth, right after my daughter was born was when I decided to cut my hair. And that would have been 1998. And so I went from like the mid 80s until 1998 with long hair. And so I know how to wear long hair. I've used for half my life. I wore my hair close to half my life. I wore it pretty long. And I'm not doing this, man bun shit. That's not, it'll end up, I'm from the 80s, man. I know how to wear long hair.
Still, that's the other thing. Not only do you got guns, I know you don't want to get fluffed here, but not only do you have some guns when you show up to a photo with a sleeveless shirt, but you actually have a full head of hair. Now, how many 50-year-old men do you know that have both of those?
Yeah, more or less. My hair is not, I don't have a bald patch, but my hair is kind of thinner. I've always had very like fine very fine hair. So when I have, my hair is naturally going white these days. What happens is like, because I'm not all that tan, I need to get tan is what I need to do. But
aren't you living in like the sunshine state too?
Well, I mean, Nevada's pretty sunny. It's cold as hell right now, but I could easily go out and get tan. I've been a graphic designer for like most of my life. I gave up on trying to tan a long time ago because I spend like most of my life in a dark room with no natural light. Yeah, so.
Fiddling with Quark Express all day. All right, now.
Yeah. All right, now that we've devolved, we're gonna take care of some business here. What do you got going on? I'll just give it to you. Go ahead and give me your plugs.
Dude, honestly, it's the book's coming out pretty soon. I just got the last chapter back from the editor, and I'm gonna put that together, then get the cover and a bunch of the work you put on before. So I want it out before anything special that may come up in the near future here. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, just check the channel. I'm in the 80s montage phase where pumping out content on YouTube, pumping out content on the private community. Just come out and join in. No big giant projects, just a huge slog of valuable work. So okay. I wish I could plug it better than that, but whatever.
Nah. I'm still actively writing my book. I'm going back over some parts right now that I got it back from second round of edits. It'll probably go out for a third, but I'm getting close. And it's funny because like the longer I wait, the more I have to sort of go back and update the introduction a little bit more. So you know what I find is the most difficult part of the book, of any book that I've written, has been the introduction and the afterwards, because I have to sort of sum up the book. And like when the afterwards is kind of easier because I kind of just like keep that to about like 3 or 4 pages, whereas the introduction tends to be like, I want to make sure that people know how to read the book, how I expect you to be like your friend of mine.
Framing it.
when you're reading this book. And I have to be really careful of this one because it's about religion. And then I'm aiming for my own target audience, obviously, but I'm also looking to expand into like a religious literature kind of thing, so that like guys who are sort of locked into their religious ideas or whatever. I'm not trying to convert people. I'm not trying to say, oh, yeah, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's religion. I'm just saying I'm going to put it in that market so that it gets to the guys who, you know, come to me and eventually come to me and say, well, I'm a Christian and I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm Jew and, you know, I don't believe in premarital sex. And I want to be able to sort of preface that.
Give them something.
So I have to constantly keep going back to it. So I got that coming up. Tomorrow I'll be on with Susan Venker. I don't know when the actual publication of it will be. It might be sometime like midweek. It might be Wednesday of this week. So that'll be a really interesting conversation. That's kind of like my trial balloon right now. I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to talk with women more on like this show? Because I think, and this is not like, oh, I need to get more.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to broaden the audience. I've never, like, I know Donovan has always been against having women on like our other podcast, but
yeah, well, we all were mostly.
We all were kind of like, but because, you know, this is a male space and that's just what we do. I'm not against like talking to women, because I think my, I'll say debating, but my having a discussion with a woman, even if she agrees with like 90% of what I talk about, I think it gives guys an idea of how they can sort of still be red pill, and then how they can interrelate with a woman. So this is like
sort of the subtext, the medium, literally the medium is the message.
Yeah, lead by example. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying I'm going to have Dr. Babe on anytime soon, or like, well, because I know the president had Janice Fiamengo on the other day, which was kind of like an abortion.
Did she not do due diligence beforehand? That's so weird.
Well, no, I'll tell you what's funny is after I saw her, and this is no cut on her because I think she has some pretty brilliant work. I understand why, you know, like a lot of MRAs are into her. I know she was on Dave Rubin's show. I know she's on some MRA stuff. I guess she considers herself an MRA. I'm not really sure. My concern with Janice Fiamengo and pretty much any woman that's on the MRA side of things is they tend to use the men's rights movement as a springboard for their own careers. So you'll see Karen Strawn, you'll see Christina Hoff Sommers, you'll see Janice Fiamengo. I'm hoping that Susan Venker isn't one of these, but maybe she is. You know, she wants it's brand new. And
most guys are just using like the manosphere to boost their own brand. So you can't expect women to be any. They're better at it.
That's why I laughed when we saw Bettina Ardent or whatever that is. That's why I think that I don't think that's a woman. I think that that's a guy using MGTOW to promote their brand of me. If that is a woman using MGTOW's got a real PR problem, like a bigger one than I thought in the beginning. So
what an understatement of the year.
Yeah. So anyways, Wednesday I'll still be on. It will be at I think I'm gonna go a little bit earlier. I'm gonna go on at 1:30 Pacific time, so it'll be 4:30 Eastern. People can keep telling me they want the Wednesday show a little earlier, so I'm gonna do it the same time as this show, but it'll be on Wednesday. So I'm gonna do a Sunday show and a Wednesday show. So
awesome.
And then again, I'm not working with Pat right now until he recovers, until things change a little bit. But I will be on Rule Zero, where we will have a very special announcement. So if you are not a subscriber of this channel, or what Rich is going to host, right? It's going to be
Rich is hosting this one. Yeah,
Rich is hosting this one. So Rule Zero, we have a very special announcement. We are going to do the official launch of the event that you guys have been asking us to do. We'll give you the details and what our thinking is behind this and just how we're organizing this. We're not. This is a first for me. I'm sure it's a first for you. But people kept saying, you know, once all the bullshit went down last summer, you know, are you guys going to be doing an event? And like I said, the thing that I miss the most is meeting guys face to face and, you know, hearing their stories and talking with them and shaking hands. And I want to get back to that. So this is going to be part of that. We're going to do this one event. It will be in the middle of April. I've already said this. If you want to get in on this before anybody else, you've got to be a Patreon subscriber on my Patreon. You can find the details in the description of this video. So if you are a Patreon subscriber for me, you will get first shot at registration. I can tell you this right now, we are limiting the registration to 100 guys. That's it. So once there's 100, they're all gone. We can't go over that. So you're going to.
We don't want to either.
You want to go, yeah, we would love to go a little bit bigger, but again, this is our first shot at this, and so we'll probably do another one, a bigger, better one after this, but this is kind of like, how do we do this? So we're gonna figure it out with this one. There's only gonna be 100 guys. It'll be limited to 100 guys. We'll tell you where it's at. It's at one of the top 10 destinations spots in the United States, and I think you guys.
That's right. Winnipeg, Manitoba, cigars, camping, and truck nuts. Yeah, you're gonna love it.
San Antonio, Texas. Yeah. No, it's not gonna be in San Antonio. So, anyways, you guys won't want to miss the next Rule Zero, which will be hosted by Rich Cooper on Entrepreneurs and Cars. So put that on your calendar. If you have not subscribed to this channel, if you've not subscribed to Ryan's fantastic channel where he's putting out content like more than I am. Go and check out his channel. Please do all your due diligence. If you want to support the show, the links are in the description. And again, if you want to get in on the tickets, you've got to be part of my my Patreon subscribership. After the first 2 weeks of the tickets being out, then I'll open it up to everybody, but it's only $5, man. Be a Patreon subscriber. So there you have it. I will see you on Saturday, I believe, next, right?
Oh yeah, at the very least. Although we'll see. Cool. I didn't know you apparently are doing D&D games on Wednesdays or something like that.
Yeah, I am. I do that once a month with the guys from Masculine Geek. So we kind of it's just sort of kick back and have fun kind of thing. So that will be on Wednesday. So on I should have put that in there. Masculine Geek. If you want to see me play Dungeons and Dragons, you can. We're kind of doing it like a red pill version of Critical Role. So it's a less woke version, like a really less woke version of Critical Role. It's really fun. We only do it once a month, and if you want to see the episode that we did, the D&D episode prior, because this is our second time doing this, go look at the December. It's in December of last year for Masculine Geek, and we do it once a month. So check that out. All right, guys. Thank you. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.